Pitching for the New York Mets this afternoon is right-hander David Cone, who is 8-1 with an ERA of 1.62, and on the mound for the Cubs, right-hander Calvin Schiraldi, 4-4 with an ERA of 4.43.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Steve Zabriski and Jim McCarver, all set for the second game of this four-game series. Cubs winning yesterday 4-1. And the Mets now going with David Cone on the mound, and he is their hottest pitcher. Calvin Schiraldi on the mound for the Cubs, and he pitched a great game.
Well, both David Cone and Calvin Schiraldi, the last time they have faced each other, this game's half as good. It's going to be a beauty, baby.
Well, it's a beautiful day here in Chicago, and we'll be back with the start of the ball
game here at Wrigley Field. Leading off and playing center field, Len Dykstra. Batting second, playing first base, in place of Keith Hernandez, Lee Mazzilli. Batting third, and at third base, David Magadan. Batting fourth, the straw that stirs the Mets drink, Darryl Strawberry. In left field, Kevin McReynolds is batting fifth. Gary Carter behind the plate. He'll be batting sixth. Howard Johnson, the corker, at shortstop. He's batting seventh. Batting eighth, Wally Backman. He'll be out there. You may not be able to see him because of the tall grass, but believe me, he'll be out there. He's batting eighth. Batting ninth, David Cone, the pitcher, the extraordinary pitcher here on this staff, who's like 8-9-1. I forget, he's got so many wins, but he's going to be batting ninth, and it doesn't matter because we're going to get enough runs for him, and he's just all he has to do is pitch. Thanks a lot. Tune in. Stay tuned for the game.
Roger McDowell saying you might not see Backman, and you won't see him because he's not playing second. It's going to be Tim Tupple playing second base and batting eighth.
See a beauty.
Calvin Schiraldi on the mound. He has a record of 4-4, an earned run average of 4.43, 28 balls, 47 base on balls, I should say, 47 strikeouts, 64 hits, and 61 innings. And he has a lifetime record of 0-0 against the Mets. He was a former Met. So Schiraldi is on the mound as you look at beautiful Wrigley Field.
Palmeiro, Martinez, and Dawson. Martinez a two-run homer yesterday. Dawson also a home run. Law, Dunston, Sandburg, and Mark Grace, and he is an amazing fielder. Jody Davis behind the plate, and Calvin Schiraldi. Boy, it should be a great matchup of pitchers here if the pitchers give the same kind of performance they did the last time out.
Both went 9 innings without allowing a run, and the Mets won the game in 13 innings. The umpires for the game today, Dana DeMuth behind home plate, Harry Whittlestead, the umpire at first base, Dutch Rennert, the umpire at second, and Greg Bonine, the umpire at third. And Lenny Dykstra will lead it off. Lenny hitting .238 against the Cubs this year. 0 for 4 in yesterday's ball game, and the fastball is fouled back out of play. Dykstra hitting .307 with 3 home runs, 14 runs batted in. And he has 14 stolen bases. In his last 8 ball games, he's batting .310 with 9 base hits. And he tries to punch that one to left and does. It drops in front of Palmeiro, and the Mets have the first base runner. Lenny Dykstra with a single to left field.
Tough pitch, but made easier for Dykstra because he's on top of the plate. What would be low and away to most hitters is not low and away to Lenny. Like a little chip shot out of the sand trap.
That's outstanding. Picking up that ball, a tough pitch to hit and coming up with a single. That'll bring up Lee Mazzilli. Mazzilli hitting .600 against the Cubs this year, 3 for 5 in yesterday's ball game, 1 for 3, replacing Keith Hernandez, who went down after a base hit. Hernandez back in the DL. Keith Miller has been brought up again. I'd like to have his mileage points, his bonus points. He's been up and down from Tidewater about 4 times now. Mazzilli hitting .185 in the year. A throw to first, Dykstra back. Dykstra. Very good base runner. The Mets with 63 stolen bases. There's Lee's average for the year. And the breaking ball in there, a called strike. Lee starting his 3rd game at first when Keith singled his first time up in the first inning. He started to run the first and then pulled that hamstring once again, and they believe it's very serious, a tear of the hamstring muscle. Might be out for a month or so. And Mazzilli gets out of the way of the fastball, 1-1. Cubs are in third place. They trail by 8. Pittsburgh in second, 6.5 out. Cubs have won 5 straight games here at home, and they won 6 of their last 8 and 9 of their last 13. The Mets have won 7 of their last 10, and they have won 3 of the 5 against the Cubs this year. Close play at first.
You wouldn't think Schiraldi would have a good move because he's tall and gangly, but he's very quick. Watch how quick his feet are. See, now he threw that ball from his chest. You can't come stop to 2 different places. You can't stop at your chest and then the next time stop at your waist. You got to always stop at your chest.
Temperature at game time, 82 degrees. About a 9-mile-an-hour wind blowing. And the reason why Tuffle was put in the game, the wind blowing out, Davy Johnson thinking maybe Tuffle could put one out of this ballpark. And the fastball, a strike call, 1-2.
See, he can't stop it to his waist there, and technically that's a balk. You can't stop at all of those different spots. You can't stop at your chest and throw to first, then come to a stop at your waist, because you're deceiving the runner by the location of your hands when you throw to first or to home. You've got to stop at the same spot. See, he's throwing from his waist. I mean, I think Davy Johnson's got a good argument there.
Got a good argument on the balk call. You're right, Tim. You can't go to 2 different places. He's only been called for 1 balk this year. The Cubs have made 17. And Mazzilli takes the fastball, 2-2 the count. Schiraldi acquired from the Boston Red Sox in the Lee Smith trade. Smith going to the Red Sox, the strong arm relief pitcher. Go over again to first. Two and two the count. There goes Dykstra, a pitch out, the throw by Jody Davis in plenty of time, and the Cubs thinking right along with the Mets, and
were they ever
coming up with a runner thrown out at second base.
Wow, that 2-2 pitch out right out of the chute. Look at Davis. He has Dykstra easily. Strong throw by Jody, third base side. Dykstra out of there. Boy, that's unusual. By pitching out in that spot, if you're wrong, it's 3-2. If you're right, it's 3-2.
Still 3-2, but they got the runner off base.
Yes, sir.
Real gambling play by Don Zimmer and his Chicago Cubs. And Mazzilli goes after a bad pitch. Would have been ball 4 and is struck out.
Just think, had Dykstra not stolen and had Mazzilli not swung at this ball, the Mets have first and second and nobody out. Instead, it's nobody on and 2 outs. High heater.
So the strikeout brings up Dave Magadan. Dave, 6 for 13 against the Cubs this year, hitting .462. Overall hitting .286 with 1 home run, 12 runs batted in.
Tell you what that does too, Ralph, with pitching out here in the first inning. That'll make the Mets reluctant to run on similar counts later in the game.
Really sets up the day for the Cubs. And the slider hanging outside. 2 balls, no strikes. Magadan 1 for 4 in this series. University of Alabama. Schiraldi from the University of Texas, and the fastball fouled away 2-1. He was the pitcher of the year in 1983 at the University of Texas.
The guy from the University of Hard Knocks.
First third baseman ever to play for the New York Mets. Third baseman back in 1962, Don Zimmer. The ever popular Don Zimmer. And the fastball for ball 3, 3 balls, 1 strike. Ryan Magadan in the batting order, Darryl Strawberry. Ground ball to Sandburg at second. And the Mets are out. No runs, one hit, a man picked off trying to steal. No one left on base to score at the end of one half inning. The Mets nothing, the Cubs coming up, and here's a word from the good old guys.
Muy buenos días para todos los fanáticos del béisbol. He aquí el line-up para el juego de hoy contra los Mets de Nueva York. Primer bateador será David Martínez y jugará el centro field. Segundo bateador será Rafael Palmeiro, jugará el left field. Tercer bateador Andrew Dodson, jugará el right field. Cuarto bateador será Ryne Sandburg, segunda base. Quinto bateador será Mark Grace, primera base. Sexto bateador será Vince Law. Séptimo bateador será Jody Davis, estará en la receptoría. Octavo bateador será Sean Dunston, shortstop. Y el noveno bateador será el pitcher Boom Boom Schiraldi. Para todos ustedes, pues esperemos que sea buen juego y que nosotros seamos los ganadores. Gracias.
Manny Trio giving the lineups there. Boom Boom Schiraldi. I love that.
Boom Boom's the same in any language, isn't it?
David Cone on the mound with a record of 8-1, an earned run average of 1.62, second in the National League. He's walked 35, struck out 79, given up only 59 hits in 88 2/3 innings. The opposition hitting 191 against him this year.
Defensively for the Mets, they line up with McReynolds in left field, Dykstra in center field, and Strawberry fields forever in right. Magadan at third, Johnson at short, Tuffle at second, Mazzilli the first baseman, Carter behind the plate, and David Cone on the mound.
Talking about Schiraldi, he's given up 9 home runs, so that's where the boom boom comes from. Here's Dave Martinez, who had a home run in yesterday's ball game. And he takes a fastball, strike one. Martinez did not start in yesterday's ball game. Came up his first time up, had a 2-run home run. And the Cubs won the ball game by a score of 4-1. And the strike call for strike two. Martinez with a lifetime average against the Mets at 253 with 3 home runs, 1 for 3 yesterday. And the high fastball hit in the air to shallow right center. Dykstra right there, and he makes the play. Very tough sun field in right field at this time of day here in Chicago, 3:18 Chicago time. In yesterday's ballgame, Darryl Strawberry lost the ball in the sun and went for a triple. Dykstra doesn't have that problem in center. He's not wearing the glasses, but right field, it is a real problem.
It's a bear, isn't it?
So 1 away, and Rafael Palmeiro is the batter. Palmeiro hitting 125 against the Mets, and he goes after the first pitch and also hits it towards center field. And Dykstra shades and makes the play. 2 men away. Palmeiro hitting .321 before the out with 5 home runs, 27 runs batted in. 4th in the National League at hitting. That'll bring up Andre Dawson. No score, 2 men away, bottom half of the first. Dawson hitting .300 against the Mets with 1 home run. Got that yesterday. And overall hitting .299 with 14 home runs, 40 runs batted in. And David Cone with his first delivery, it's called a ball. Dawson, lifetime against the Mets, .247. Two balls, no strikes. Dawson goes after a fastball. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. Dawson, the MVP in the National League last year, hitting 49 home runs for the Cubs. Out over the glove of David Cone. Tough play for Tuffle. He cannot make it. Fortunately for him, as he throws it away, it hits the facade fronting the dugout area and stays in play. So it'll be a base hit. And Dawson at first base with 2 men out.
Now that David Cone can't make this play, nobody can. Maybe on the artificial surface, but not on regular turf. Timmy does all he can, but there's just no way to get Dawson. Guy who runs adequately will beat a ball out like that.
Good try by Tuffle. Fortunately for him, he was saved by the screen, and that'll bring up Ryne Sandburg. First hit for the Cubs. David Cone, his last time out, went 7 2/3 innings without giving up a base hit. Jeltz got the first hit with 2 men out in the 8th inning. Cone ended up with a 2-hitter and a 6-0 victory. That was against the Philadelphia Phillies. And Dawson at first base. The next pitch back, 1 ball, 1 strike. Sandburg hitting .262, 10 home runs, 30 runs batted in. He's 4 for 21 against the Mets this year. 0 for 3 yesterday.
Oh, good play, Carter.
Ball bounced the dirt. Another curveball down there. Cone has made 5 wild pitches. He throws a lot of balls in the dirt.
Whenever a ball bounces high on the chest protector, it's a good play by the catcher. That's a 57-footer right there. Hits right above the waist of Gary Carter. Really a fine play to smother that curveball.
2-1 the count. And this ball grounded down the third base side. It's called a foul ball by third base umpire Greg Bonine. Fans here think it's a base hit.
I'll tell you, it was close to being a fair ball. It's not where it goes over the bag. This ball almost lands in fair territory. Wow. You think about the angle of the curveball and where it went over. It's only about 4 inches foul when it hits, but it's where it either goes over the bag or misses. If it did miss, it couldn't have missed by much.
Certainly couldn't have. But Bonine, I guess the way he wants it pronounced, B-O-N-I-N. Bonine calls it a foul ball. So Dawson back to first, and the count on Sandburg, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Dawson now running with the pitch, and the ball hit in the air to right center, and it might be extra bases. It will be, and a run will score. Andre Dawson trying for 3. Tuffle's relay, not in time, and the Cubs lead it 1-0.
The Mets run on a 2-2 pitch with Dykstra. The Cubs pitch out. The Cubs run on a 2-2 pitch and Sandburg triples. Big difference. No chance for Darrell to get to this ball. Back in the middle of the warning track, an easy triple for Sandburg, and Dawson walks home.
And now the batter, Mark Grace, takes the first pitch. It's ball 1. Grace 0 for 2 in the series. Fine young ball player, hitting .302 for the year with 4 home runs, 18 RBIs. And that pitch, 1 ball, 1 strike. Sandburg picking up his 5th 3-base hit. And a ground ball to Tuffle at second base. That retires the side. The Cubs get 1 run on 2 hits, and they leave 1 at third. The score at the end of 1 inning here at Wrigley Field. The Cubs won, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Darryl Strawberry stepping in. Keith Hernandez on the DL again. And this is what Steve Garland had to say about the status of Keith Hernandez.
Well, the situation with Keith is yesterday during the game he went down. We think the problem is related to the other one, obviously. Jake Zucker, one of the Cub doctors, checked him yesterday and today, and it feels like there's a possibility of a tear in one of the hamstring muscles. If that's the case, we're talking anywhere from probably 3 to 6 to 8 weeks for this particular injury, if it is indeed a tear. Hopefully, we're hoping it's something not quite as serious, but we're prepared. And maybe we expect the worst right now.
So Darryl Strawberry with a 1-1 count, and the breaking ball by Schiraldi taken for ball 2, 2-1. Strawberry hitting .297, 17 home runs, tied for the league lead in that department, 45 runs batted in. And ball 3. Strawberry second in slugging percentage with a .599 slugging percentage, and second in on-base percentage at .398. Fastball a called strike, and it's 3-2.
It's not that the Mets have had a lot of injuries, but boy, a key injury to a guy like Hernandez could be devastating and have devastating effects. We've seen the problems they've had scoring runs the last month.
And Strawberry works out a walk, becomes a base runner with no one out here in the top of the second. The Cubs leading 1-0. And Kevin McReynolds will be the next batter. Little rooftop watching here on the north side of Chicago.
That's an interesting occupation or avocation. Watching roofs. Of course, on a day like today, I guess the rooftop changes with it as humid as it is. Melting tiles.
A little tar that you might pick up here and there. Runner goes with the pitch. The ball hit out to fairly deep center field. Martinez back to get to it. Strawberry moving back to first base. And McReynolds out on one pitch.
I'll tell you, I like that play, and I'll tell you why, even though it didn't work for the Mets. You hit and run with guys like McReynolds and Carter a couple of times, and it really, they practice keeping their shoulder in there. Watch McReynolds. You have to keep the shoulder in there, and on a hit and run play, you know you have to make contact, so you keep the shoulder in there and you start getting into good habits.
You make that batter swing.
Yeah.
Now here is Gary Carter. McReynolds 1 for 4 yesterday. Carter also 1 for 4. And Carter pulls away and misses, strike 1. Gary hitting .265 for the year with 8 home runs, 30 runs batted in. He's 4 for 18 against the Cubs this year with no home runs. Cubs leading 1-0. They had the early lead in yesterday's win, winning 4-1, scoring 2 in the first. Strawberry back. Darryl, of course, a fine stolen baseman. And that pitch a ball, so the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Schiraldi with the Mets in 1985 had a record of 2-1, an earned run average of 8.89 in 10 games. He had 4 game starts. Again, Strawberry chased back. Last time he and Cone hooked up back on June 2nd. What a pitching duel. No score for either side through 9 innings. And this ball hit in the air on the first base side. It'll go into the stands. And the stands are full today.
Why do they call them stands when people sit there? Why don't they call them sits?
That's just another way of pronouncing seats. Grandstand. Cubs probably seat about 32,000. They stand more.
SRO, huh?
Yeah.
Sitting room only.
2-2 for Carter. Gary keeping his average around the 300 mark, but with no extra base hits. Last home run came back in the middle of May. Almost threw it away. Good play by Grace at first base.
Here's what we were talking about. Now it's 2-2. Now instead of sending Strawberry, Davy Johnson's got to be apprehensive about sending him because the last 2-2 count with speed at first, they pitched out.
And strike 3 call. So Carter unhappy with the call by home plate umpire Dana DeMuth.
Gary thought the ball was low. It appeared to be high enough, however, and Dana DeMuth punches him out. It's funny, it looked higher from a side shot because you're getting ground level as opposed to the camera at center field that's pointed down.
That'll bring up Howard Johnson. Howard playing shortstop, and Strawberry draws another throw. Cubs leading 1-0, 2 men away. Mets with a runner at first. We're in the top half of the second. Johnson hitting .235 with 10 home runs, 30 runs batted in. Schiraldi missed him with a fastball. Johnson 0 for 4 yesterday. He's hitting .188 against the Cubs this year with 3 hits, one of them a home run. Mets have only 3 home runs against the Cubs pitching in 5 ball games. They lead the league in home runs with 62. Strawberry again draws the throw. Strawberry is running. The ball bounced in the dirt. No chance at all for Jody Davis to come up with it. Strawberry slides into second, comes up, goes a little bit off the bag, and then decides not to go to third. That'll be a stolen base.
Watch this fastball. Davis really has no chance. That ball.
Oh, that's a wild pitch.
That is a wild pitch. That ball hit the grass, I think. I don't even think it got to the dirt.
So the Mets have the time run at second with 2 men out. 2-0 count to Howard Johnson. 13th stolen base for Strawberry this year.
The reason it's a stolen base and not a wild pitch is that Strawberry was running on the pitch. Thereby, he only made it to second. No wild pitch is given.
Strike call, 2-1.
So you can't anticipate a runner being thrown out at second. But you have to anticipate that he would have stolen the base. I guess that's why the scoring is ruled as such.
Two and 1. 3-1. On deck batter Tim Tuffle. Tuffle not in the original lineup, but put in because the wind is blowing out. Wally Backman had been scheduled to bat 8. Wally, of course, no home run threat. Drive to left center field, a base hit. Strawberry coming around, and he'll score. The throw goes into second base, and this game is tied.
Davy Johnson and Howard Johnson probably saying "My kingdom" for a 2-out base hit with a man in scoring position. So Davy and Howard owe their kingdoms to this hit. That's good hitting by Hojo. You know, the Mets just have not had, they've had 2 problems offensively. Is they hadn't been getting base runners. They've been getting enough base runners. It's been 2-out base hits and scoring runners from third with less than 2 outs.
And, of course, the stolen base set it up, and that'll bring up Tuffle with a runner at first and Johnson a threat to steal. Tuffle hitting .266, 2 home runs. And he brings a 10-game hitting streak into this game. Johnson draws the throw.
They've been getting the long ball, too, Ralph. They lead the National League in home runs. So the Mets have had kind of a very strange offense. Their run production coming from the one swing of the bat. But their base runners, it's tough. It's been tough to move base runners along.
Mets have won 12 games with their last at bat, which gives you an idea how they've had to struggle.
4 of those games, extra inning home runs in the bottom half of the inning at Shea. A strange offensive slump.
And another pitch out, not a very good one. Johnson not running. Second one called for the runner at first base.
Think they'll pitch out again?
I would say if you pitch out on the 2-2 count, you can pitch out all the time.
That's a good point.
So Johnson picked off at first, and that ends the inning. 1 run to tie it on 1 base hit after a walk and a stolen base. The score at the end of 1.5 innings. The Mets won, the Cubs won. Now here's a word from Delta Airlines.
The barbarians of broadcasting. Pretty tough to believe they'd let these monkeys on my show, huh? But you'll meet them on the next one. Join us.
What do you say? You're going to replay it? Well, it's the bottom half of the second. The Mets have had 1 runner thrown out at second base on a pitch out on a steal attempt and 1 picked off first. And Schiraldi with that move over to first, and he picks off Howard Johnson. It did look like he was safe on the replay. Grace, the first baseman, putting the tag on after he had gotten back to the bag. So actually Johnson was back in there, but not according to Harry Wendelstadt, the first base umpire. And here's a man who never was picked off first base, Tim McCarver.
I want to tell you an embarrassing story about being picked off at first base. As Vance Law is the batter, Benny's hit 9 straight. Tapper right side. Tuffle will have to hurry. Got him by a shoelace. 1 out.
Well, this ball not hit hard, hit off the end of the bat right by David Cone. Tuffle getting the glove down. You can see those hands wide open, and he picks up the out.
In 1970, I returned to the lineup in Philadelphia, and the first thing a runner does when he gets on base, is you see Jody Davis batting with 1 out and nobody on, is check the outfielders. I did that, but I was off base at the time, and Chuck Taylor threw it to first base, and I was tagged looking at the outfielders. I did everything right, but look at the outfielders when I was on the bag. That was dumb.
Sort of like Gary Carter in Philadelphia earlier this year, standing about 2 inches off the bag and getting
similar.
tagged out.
Yeah, that's right. Boy, there's no place to crawl. Jody Davis, 0-1. Good curveball. 1-1 ball game, bottom of the second inning. Andy Papko has 126 home runs. That's 9th on the Cub list. Jody fights it off from Gainesville, Georgia. Jody Davis.
Most home runs by a Cub catcher held by Gabby Hartnett, who hit probably the most famous home run in Cub history, the homer in the Gloman.
Homer in the Gloman. 1938 or 9.
1938 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was so dark that if Mace Brown had just rolled the ball to the plate, he would have never been able to hit it out of the ballpark. Game would have been called. The Pirates would have won. As it turned out, the Cubs won the ball game and later on went on to win the National League Championship.
Gloman. Tough to see, right? Mace Brown. Come
Mace
on.
Brown, the pitcher.
Mace Brown, tough to see. Gloman, come on. You're making
All
it up.
goes together, doesn't it?
Yeah. 2-2 to Davis.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
Really. Slider outside. David says that he will throw a slider. His best pitch is his curveball. He's got a moving fastball. Now the slider moving parallel to the ground. The curveball breaks down. The fastball gets Davis. And boy, that ball jumped up and bit him. First strikeout for David Cone. 2 outs.
David Cone, the type of pitcher that sort of short arms you and that ball jumps at you. And you can see that ball jumping up there and no chance for Jody Davis. It exploded.
David, almost the answer, and Mel Stottlemyre and Davy Johnson can tell you that he's the Mets' answer to Greg Maddux. They have similar fastballs. Players call it fastballs with action on them. Here's Sean Dunston. Sean batting .294. How many 8th-place hitters bat that highly? Or are thought of that highly?
Has a 13-game hitting streak, batting .333 over the 13 games.
Deep to left field, but not deep enough. He didn't get it up. The wind lazily blowing out to left, as Ralph said, about 9 miles an hour. So it'll help some, but not enough on Dunston's ball. 1-1 after 2. We're back after this from Budweiser.
Budweiser and Bud Light join with USA Today to give baseball fans something new. Now, for the first time, you can also pick up an official All-Star fan ballot, free wherever you pick up Bud or Bud Light. Vote for your favorite Major League players. Then, test your talent for baseball trivia and win valuable prizes.
Okay, maybe... maybe not.
You like this guy at third? How about this?
No.
Do you, What National League catcher played 11 consecutive All-Stars? Says here it was me. Johnny Bench! Hey, how you doing?
Answers are in USA Today every day. So to fans everywhere, settle back with a cold Bud or Bud Light. Vote for the players you want to see in the All-Star game and be part of a baseball tradition.
Delivery. Swinging a shot into right center field. May not be caught.
Well, it does pay to get Met. Mike Fitzpatrick from Newport, Rhode Island, the pilot of our Mets blimp today, to give you some overhead shots. And I guess those shots will be available. Bob Michelson is the cameraman. Those overhead shots will be available August 8th, the historic day where lights will be installed and night baseball will be at Wrigley Field. What a date. Tim Tuffle takes a fastball low. 1-0. 1-1 ball game. Top of the 3rd inning.
This is the 73rd year the Cubs have played in this ballpark. It was originally known as Wigman Park.
2 balls, no strikes. That's a career high for the Mets. His career high, or with his career with the Mets, is 10 games. His career high, he hit in 12 for the Minnesota Twins back in '83. 2-1 to Tuffle. Strike 2. Davy Johnson in his 5th year at the helm. Curveball fouled away, still 2-2.
And we have a large group of fans from Morton College here to honor their #1 baseball player that graduated from Morton College, Gene Walter. Morton College is the smallest community college, a junior college, as well as the oldest established institution of its kind in the state of Illinois. They've had 5 players drafted, and Gene, the only one to make it to the major leagues. Gene Walter.
Is that Randall K. Myers reading the morning paper? Can we get you anything else, Randy?
How about a little spot of tea?
2-2 to Tuffle. Tight. 3-2. Fly ball, right field. Dawson glasses down, drifting in. And he makes the play. 1 out here in the 3rd, and David Cone, the batter. 1-1 ball game. A 2-out triple by Ryne Sandburg, with Dawson running. Andre scoring the first run of the game in the 1st inning, and then a 2-out single by Howard Johnson in the 2nd, scoring Darryl Strawberry, who had walked and stolen 2nd. Cone with a couple of doubles to his credit this year, 1 RBI. 5 for 29 on the year. Curveball high, 1-1. The only day game in the major leagues today. Other action, Pittsburgh at Montreal, LA at Cincinnati, Philadelphia at St. Louis, San Francisco at Houston, San Diego at Atlanta. And the American League, a full slate of night games tonight. 2 balls and a strike to Cone. Drilled, good play, Law. And he throws out Cone. Boy, Vance Law with a dilly. 2 out.
Oh, Vance makes a great play to come up with the ball and then almost loses it. Yesterday, John Dunston made a great stop of a ball and lost it. Carter thought it was caught, started to walk to the bench, decided that maybe he better go to first, and Dunston threw it away. But this time, you see, there he bobbled it there, makes a good catch to recover, and he throws it accurately to pick up the out.
We mentioned Vinny earlier. The reason he got that nickname is when he showed up in the White Sox camp after traded from Pittsburgh. One of his teammates thought his name was Vince Law. Give the players a media guide or something. And so therefore he got the nickname of Vinny. 1-0 to Nails. Ball 2-0.
At least he had the initial right.
V for victory, huh?
Yeah, Vernon Lawn. All of his children's given names starting with a V.
Grounded foul, 2-1.
Vernon and Valita Law. And Vance Law has brothers Belden, Burl, Vaughn, and Barlin, and a sister named Belinda. They also have a dog, naturally named Victor.
Vivacious family, huh? Two and two to Dykstra. 1-1 ball game, top of the third. Hot, humid day here at Wrigley Field, but it's supposed to be this type of weather. And weathering all weather is Jane Chrisman, who often shows up here in Chicago. She's from Allentown, PA. And she was the lady who was kind enough to give all of us Father's Day ties.
With Mets colors.
Yeah, Metsy's colors. 3-2 to Dykstra. Dykstra down on strikes. So the Mets go down in order after 2.5, 1-1. We're back after this from the good olds, guys.
Nobody tell me like the daily news. Roger, do you call it a full-time job, only having to get 1 or 2 outs every day?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, just, sports writer.
New York's hometown, baby.
Special, celebrate in style with the New York Mets in 9X Yellow Pages. It's 9X Yellow Pages fireworks night at Shea Stadium on Monday night, July 4th, following the Mets Cincinnati Reds game. That starts at 7:35 p.m. Interesting, p.m. again.
Well, the best way to...
Tickets can be purchased, excuse me, Ralph, at all Ticketron outlets, Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window, or you can call 718-507-TIXX. I just want you to know that promo had PM on there.
Okay, well, this is PS. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The best way to follow the Mets this season is with the 1988 official yearbook. This year's edition contains action-packed photos of all the Mets and includes a special 32-page insert commemorating Shea Stadium's 25-year history. Always a collector's item, this book contains bios and stats of all the Mets. To order your 1988 Mets Yearbook, send a check or money order made payable to New York Mets for $7 to cover postage and handling. Mets Yearbook, Post Office Box 9559, Trenton, New Jersey 08650. Please allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. New Jersey residents, please add a 6% sales tax.
I mean, can you imagine the confusion? Somebody showing up at 6:45 a.m. expecting to see infield practice. I mean, so it's very important for us to say p.m. on the promos, right?
Extremely important, because I know that if we had infield practice that early, you'd be here.
I would be there. That is correct. 0-1 to Schiraldi.
Did you ever play any of those games out in San Francisco that they started at 10 o'clock?
Not in San Francisco. 0-2 to Calvin. 1-1 game, bottom of the third. Tell you what I did do, the toughest 4 games that I ever was involved in, 1 and 2, a scheduled doubleheader in San Francisco one day on a Sunday. Okay? An 11 o'clock starting doubleheader in St. Louis the next day. Tuffle, a tough play. He gets Schiraldi. Good play by Tuffle, 1 out.
Boy, Tuffle's had some tough plays at second. He's had 3 chances. They've all been very difficult chances. Some days you have those kind of days. That was a very fine pickup of a difficult hop. It was that half hop.
That was back in the middle 70s. Can you imagine that, playing a doubleheader and then traveling to St. Louis with the time change? You lose 2 hours, and you start on, we got in about 5 in the morning. We started an 11 o'clock Labor Day doubleheader scheduled. Both doubleheaders were scheduled. Those were the days when you could do a lot of scheduling that you can't do today. Here's Dave Martinez. Did you play in those 10 o'clock starts?
I didn't play, but I broadcast them, and you think that isn't tough.
Oh, boy.
I'm glad I wasn't playing.
Breakfast at Candlestick.
That's revolting.
Ball and no strikes to Martinez, who flied to center his first 2 passes.
The press room at Candlestick at one time, it's not that way now, had 2 items. One was peanut butter with slices of bread, and the other was ice cream soup. They put the ice cream out, and it would melt. They had no ice to keep it from melting, and of course, after about an hour, it was just like soup.
That was that split finger fastball to Martinez. 1-2 to Dave. Curveball drilled down the right field line. Strawberry will have to hurry, but Martinez appears to be in there, and he is. Double number 7 for Dave Martinez on the year. And he's at second with 1 out. I think it was a curve. It might have been a split finger. Ralph will see.
We'll take a look at it right here. Martinez had been in a horrendous slump, and it was a split finger. Came back with it right after throwing it the pitch before. Martinez gets it on the end of the bat, hits it down the right field line, and comes up with a double.
Good hitting by Dave, and Rafael Palmeiro, who is 0 for 5 in this series, but 4th in hitting in the National League, is the batter. Good, quick stroke. Ball 1.
Well, he did something yesterday he seldom does. He struck out. It was only the 12th time he has struck out. He's averaged 1 strikeout every 25 plate appearances.
Ball 2. 2-0 to Palmeiro. Palmeiro, one of 4 active players to be born in Cuba. Grew up in Miami. 3 balls and no strikes. And look for Rafi to hit on this one.
Born in Havana, Cuba.
And he was swinging. He fouls it away.
Teammate of Will Clark at the University, Mississippi State.
That's why he lives in Tupelo, the hometown of Elvis Presley. Moved from Miami, went to Mississippi State. And he calls Tupelo home now. So here's Andre Dawson. Andy, an infield hit, and he scored the first run of the game in the first inning. Cubs have runners at first and second and 1 out. To Dawson. Dawson leads the Cubs in home runs, extra base hits, total bases. .529 slugging percentage. There goes Martinez. Runners running the throws to second. Safe at second. Carter made the right play. It appeared that Tuffle, however, was in front of the bag.
This will go as a double steal. Martinez with a big jump. Palmeiro was late in starting, which you usually are. You have to make sure the runner in front goes, and Tuffle in front of the bag has to come back, and he doesn't get back in time. And a double steal. Forced to walk Dawson. That'll load him up. With Sandburg the batter. So Cone in a ton of trouble here in the third. 1-1 game. You're watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. I'll tell you, we see that so often where the shortstop or the second baseman go in front of the bag and bring the ball back. If they catch the ball in the baseline and make the tag, most plays are like that bang-bang anyway. You just don't have the luxury of catching it out front and bringing it back.
You can't swing your arms as fast as that ball is traveling. The ball's going about 90 miles an hour, and you can't swing your arms, so you lose time when you get in front of the bag. Occasionally, you're caught out of position, but generally, you should take the throw straddling the bag.
Right. Sandburg, an RBI triple in the first. Popped up. Mazzilli over near the dugout. And it's just out of play. Right on top of the dugout. Bounds up into the stands.
This ballpark's a good park to hit in for the very reason that there's very little foul territory here. And a lot of balls that would be caught in other ballparks, as you look at that foul territory, very small. Balls that would be caught in other ballparks go into the stands.
Sidearm fastball. Sandburg in the hole now, 0-2. Foul. So Sandburg is fouling off some very difficult pitches from Cone. However, as is the case with most rhinos, Sandburg a ton of trouble. Still 0-2.
He got his first name from Ryne Duren. Parents saw Ryne Duren pitch
Christian one-hitter. And his brother has been named after Del Ennis, an outstanding player for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Sidearm slider, and Carter makes the play.
Well, that was a vicious pitch right there.
Martinez at third base. Palmeiro at second. Dawson at first.
He drops down sidearm, and he gets a lot of break in this ball. Sandburg pulls away. He wouldn't even been close to hitting it, but it was just too far outside. But a good waste pitch.
Ground ball, shortstop. Could be two. There's one. Not in time at first base. Martinez scores. It's now a 2-1 game. Cubs in front.
Well, Sandburg drives into second run. Howard Johnson, shortstop, handles a tough hop, shovels off to Tuffle, and Tuffle on the first, but Sandburg gets down the line very well. And they can't get the double play, so a run scores. And the Cubs regain the lead.
Mark Grace now the batter. Sandburg back. So Sandburg with 2 RBIs. RBIs number 31 and 32 have put the Cubs in front. 2-1. We're in the third inning. Strike one to Grace. Good running situation for Sandburg. Reason 0-2 and 2 outs a good running situation. If you throw out Sandburg, Grace gets to start anew. And there is the chance that a pitcher will be wasting a ball, curveball down or something like that. Palmeiro at third base. We'll see if Sandburg's running. Nope. Pitch out. Carter thought so. 1-2.
It's a good call.
Not bad. Yep.
Grace, a tough man to strike out. He struck out only 5 times this year, once every 27 plate appearances. Unusual for a rookie.
Swing and a miss. So he goes down on strikes. That is the second strikeout for Cone. The Cubs score 1 run on 1 base hit and strand a couple after 3. 2-1 Chicago. We're back after this from Nissan. Top of the 4th inning here at Wrigley Field. It's a 2-1 ball game. Ryne Sandburg has driven in both runs for the Cubs. An RBI single by Howard Johnson, plating Darryl Strawberry in the second. The only run the Mets have scored. And to carry you along for the next couple, here's Steve.
Thanks a lot, Timmy, and hi, everybody. What a beautiful day at Wrigley Field, and the bleacher bums will tell you that every day is a beautiful day at Wrigley Field because they're here almost every day. Another 30,000 plus as Lee Mazzilli leads it off. Magadan and Strawberry to follow here in the top of the 4th inning. As you see, most of the bleacher bums are shirtless. Breaking ball is in there for strike 1. Mazzilli struck out swinging his first time up. Just misses outside, 1-1. I was talking to Joe McIlvaine before the game, who's traveling with the Mets, about now the fact that Keith Hernandez appears to be lost for as long as 2 months, anywhere from 1 to 2 months, depending on how he comes around. Ball 2 outside. Joe felt
as good, I guess, as an executive in the front office with the Mets can feel under those circumstances, because he feels that the Mets have a great amount of variety. They've got about 3 guys at each infield position. 2-2 now. Keith Miller's able to play second, short, or third. Mazzilli, of course, can play either first or the outfield. You're never going to replace Keith Hernandez in kind. But the Mets are certainly a lot better off than some other clubs would be under similar circumstances. Maz gets jammed, and it's fouled just outside the first base bag. Still 2-2. Mark Grace, who wears number 17 because Keith Hernandez is his hero.
He could wear number 37. That's what Keith wore with the St. Louis Cardinals, but when he came to the Mets, 37 was retired. That was Casey Stingel's number, and so Keith settled for 17, since 27 was worn by Craig Swan.
Up the middle, snagged by Schiraldi, who underhands and almost threw it away. Grace did a good job to stay with the throw. 1 out.
A good play and almost a bad play by Schiraldi. Nice play getting to that ball. That ball could have been through there. And now the underhand toss to the foul side of first base. And Grace makes a nice play, gracefully moving his feet. Watch this.
Gracefully done. Dave Magadan grounded to second his first time up, and he takes a breaking ball, low, ball 1. Did you like playing in this ballpark?
I love this park. Anybody who is, unless you're a pitcher, you just gotta love to play here. You know what? The consistency of the dirt was just great too, and that's a very, very important thing. Like for instance, Dodger Stadium, there was clay on, and whenever you put the clay on your hand, you'd mix it with rosin or pine tar, and there was almost a slick feeling. Here, the dirt, like your pores absorbed the dirt.
Well hit to right field. Dawson coming on, short hops the ball. It's a base hit for Magadan. Good play by Andre, not only to almost make the catch, but to not let the ball get by him.
Talking about absorbing dirt, Dawson makes a nice play absorbing this short hop. Good play by Dawson. Well, what a great player in every way.
Oh.
He really is.
Here's Darryl Strawberry with 1 out and Magadan at first. Swings right through the fastball for strike 1. Darryl walked and scored the Mets run in the second inning. Also stole a base. Foul back into the screen, and the count strikes 2.
Both of those balls hittable. See Darryl shaking his head when you see guys doing that. They're saying, how could I have missed that ball? Just fouled it back. That's my pitch, and both of them were. Swung through one, fouled back another.
So it's 0-2. Sharply hit to short. Dunston stays with the hop. They get 1. Not in time at first base. Grace doing a good job of trying to cheat to get the call. Harry Wendelstedt would have none of it. So there are 2 out now with Strawberry at first.
Tricky hop, fielded, kind of smothered by Dunston. You know, some of the athleticism that you see in baseball is best exemplified on shortstops and second basemen's plays around the bag. The pivot, you think about all the athletic movements. The pivot, Dunston making the play, backing up with the hop, the underhand throw. Sometimes you want it hard, other times you want it soft.
That's why it's so important for guys in those two positions to work together.
Oh, yeah.
On a regular basis.
And often you find you're really, truly great athletes around that second base bag. Inaptly and inappropriately named the keystone position, or the keystone base.
McReynolds fly deep to center his first time up. Strawberry running, and the pitch high and inside. The throw in time, and they get Darrell at second to end the inning. The Mets get a base hit, but have both base runners erased, and they fail to score. And in the middle of the fourth inning, it's still 2-1 Chicago. We're back after this for the good old Skies.
Touchstone Pictures presents Eddie, Jessica, and Roger. A man, a woman, a rabbit in a triangle of trouble.
Hide me, Eddie.
Roger's wanted for murder. Jessica's wanted by Eddie. Eddie's wanted by Roger.
Jessica. Eddie. Oh, honey bunny.
It's the greatest adventure a man, a woman, and a rabbit ever had. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a Steven Spielberg presentation, a Robert Zemeckis film.
The story of greed, sex, and murder.
Rated PG.
Now playing at a theater near you. Check newspaper for showtimes.
An announcement worth your attention. Rollin Smith joins Channel 9, weeknights on the news at 10.
This afternoon's game from the friendly confines in Chicago is being brought to you in part by the good old Skies, your New York, New Jersey, and Southern Connecticut Oldsmobile dealers. And by the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages, the one that works. Darryl Strawberry getting thrown out. And the Mets have been getting base runners on, but they've been getting erased.
Well, I think Darrell was thrown out at second, but was put out at first. And put out after this call by Dutch Rennert. Because it appeared that he was safe. That foot in there, and watch the high tag by Dunston. I say put out at first because Darrell didn't have a good jump. See, he's safe. Darrell had a good complaint there.
And again, Dunston taking the throw in front of the bag.
The throw's on line. There's no sense to do that.
Vance Law leads it off as he did in the second inning. Here in the fourth, he grounded out to Tim Tuffle at second to open the second. But he has been on a tear, not only on a 9-game hitting streak, over which he's hit .469. Strike one makes it 1-1. But he's also hit in 22 of his last 25, hitting .419. One ball, two strikes.
Yacker time. Boy, was that a nasty hook. Ooh.
David Cone has got an assortment of nasties. That pitch good enough to cause Vinny to get out and collect himself a little bit.
Yeah.
What happened to that ball?
Interesting term, and then collect yourself.
Where did you go?
Like you showed up in a pile.
Outside 2-2. Vance was telling me before the game that one of the reasons he's having a good year, he feels, and he's having a great year, really, as he strikes out here, is the fact that the health problems of his young daughter are now behind he and his family, and he can concentrate better.
Well, the burdens that some major leaguers have and the way they play through those times is just one that I've often marveled at.
Vance's daughter Natalie, who's now about 7, when she was 4, had a brain tumor and was operated on a number of times, and she has come through with flying colors and is virtually back to normal, and what a great blessing that is to he and his wife Sharon. Here's Jody Davis, and Jody takes a pretty good pitch, but it's ball one. He struck out swinging in the second. Ball two. Jody's been pushed a little bit this year by Damon Berryhill, who has shown some signs of becoming a good major league catcher. Grounded to short. Johnson. And very quickly 2 out here in the 4th inning.
It was Berryhill's first major league home run that gave the Cubs the lead. He hit it off David Cone in the 10th inning of that June 2nd game when Schiraldi and Cone locked horns. It was 1-0 Cubs in the bottom of the 10th, and the Mets tied it and then won it in the 13th on a home run by Howard Johnson off Frank DiPino. The only 2 no decisions Cone has, as a matter of fact, have both been 10-inning efforts.
Sean Dunston up with 2 out and nobody on. And there's that big fender in the dirt. It's a little unusual the way David Cone has been pitching for him to have given up 2 runs already in this ball game, because he hasn't given up an average of 2 runs in 9 innings of work yet this year. Dunston chases that sidearm breaking ball.
Breaking ball, and Sean goes too far.
Glancing at the Tim McCarver pitching record, diligently kept. Fouled out of play. Still 1-2. David gave up 3 earned runs in his second appearance of the year back on the 9th of April. That was in relief. And then he gave up 4 runs as a starter 4 appearances ago on June 7th against the Cards. And that his only loss of the year. Gave up those 4 runs in 6 innings of work.
And in no other game has he given up more than 2 runs.
And he has 2 shutouts this year. 2-2 pitch fouled out of play. Still 2-2 to Dunston. Dunston working on a 13-game hitting streak, over which he's hit .333. He is a little different hitter this year than he has been in the past. And they always felt that the ability was there. Grounds this one is short. Johnston from near the hole with that strong arm gets him, and the inning is over. Cone retires the Cubs in order in the 4th, and after 4, it's still Chicago leading New York 2-1. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover.
The News at 10's exclusive shadow traffic reports can really be a big help. Can't imagine telling Davey, sorry I'm late for the game, Skipper. Construction on the LIE.
From the MetLife blimp, a little zoomed-in shot of the sign at Wrigley Field behind home plate here, just off of Addison Street. Bob Michelson running the camera, and Mike Fitzpatrick from Newport, Rhode Island at the controls. That gives you an idea of how this park now looks with light standards on top of the roofs.
And you see along the third base line, that is a shadow impediment that was not there before the light standards were put up. So the players have to deal with some different things now as far as shadows are concerned at this park.
Kevin McReynolds leads off the 5th for New York and takes a strike. McReynolds flying out to deep center his first time up was at the plate when Strawberry was caught stealing to end the 4th. Strike 2. It's going to be interesting to see how this park will look on the night of July 8th when the first night game is played. Probably be a little, or August 8th, I should say, probably be a little eerie feeling for those in attendance. And there they are. They have to have them, though. I mean, you can say all you want to say about the purity of it and the history and the tradition.
Yeah, you're right.
You just got to have them.
I think Ralph made a great statement yesterday. He said, I understand why they have to do it, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
I think there are a lot of people in Chicago who feel the same way. 2-2 to Matt. I think one of the things that's going to help the ball club in having lights is the fact that when they begin to play more day games, and they're not going to play very many this year, but when they begin to play night games on more of a regular basis, I think it's going to help them contend. Ooh, that one got away from Schiraldi and plunks McReynolds, so he goes down to first to lead off the 5th inning. Neighborhood obviously has mixed feelings about it, and a lot of people feel night games are going to lead to crime and to disturbances that they don't want, and it's a quiet neighborhood, nobody's here at night. But in order for this ball club to contend in the late part of the season, the players are going to appreciate the fact that they don't have to play day games throughout July and August year after year after year. And I think that's been one thing that's kept the Cubs from being contenders on occasion when they've had teams that could contend.
Certainly been the history. None more evident than the '69 Cubs. Leo DeRocher playing about 8 guys and several pitchers that year, and of course the Cubs wilted. They were ahead of the Mets by, I think, 8.5 games on August 10th, and the Mets ended up winning the pennant by about 8 games. It really opened up some major inroads.
And it's happened to them on other occasions. Derek Carter was called out his first time up. And he grounds it sharply to third. Law goes to Sandburg, and McReynolds with a good takeout of Sandburg, who also couldn't come up with a handle on them.
Right. That's exactly right. Sometimes when you go in your glove, you don't come out with the middle finger and the index finger, with the ball in those fingers. You come out a lot of times with the ball in 3 fingers. See, he elected not to throw before McReynolds took him out. It was a hard slide, but he could have gotten this throw off had he had the handle on it. So he just elected not to throw the ball. And sometimes that ring finger, it's for rings. It's not for throwing balls. You don't put rings on your middle. Some people do now on their index and middle finger. Sometimes, when that ring finger gets involved in throwing, it's bad, unless you're a pitcher and throwing palm balls.
There you go. But you don't want to throw a palm ball to the first baseman no matter where you go.
No change-ups.
1 out for Howard Johnson, and a ball bounced up there. It does not get far enough away from Jody Davis for Carter to be able to advance. So it's ball 1.
Jody lost this ball momentarily, but when you're Gary Carter and you don't run real fast, you can't take a chance. Watch Davis look back, and now the ball's lying right there, or laying right there. People lie.
Things lay.
Baseballs lay. Right. Yeah. Went back to my old parenthetical English sentences.
I still foul that one up. Among others. Ball 1 to Johnson, who singled to drive in the Mets run in the second. In the dirt again. Good play by Davis.
Less and fewer. It's a tricky one.
Or farther and further.
Yeah, farther and further. I think you further a point, and
you move farther down the road.
Farther down the road, right.
And that concludes English 101 for today. Thank you.
I might conclude it.
Tune in again tomorrow.
It might come up again. I don't know.
Well, we're bound to make another mistake sooner or later. On the corner, 2 balls, 1 strike. 1 out, Carter at first, 2-1 Chicago. We're in the top half of the 5th inning. Fastball popped up, short left field down the line. Vance Law calling in the shadows of the light standard. 2 away. And here's Tim Tuffle, who flied to shallow right his first time up. Tuffle, a late insertion in the lineup, replacing Wally Backman. When Davy Johnson looked out and saw the wind blowing somewhat briskly to left center field. Tuffle with a little more power than Walter. Strider at first now with 2 out. Strike 1 right at the knees. Timmy working on a 10-game hitting streak. Fouls it back into the screen. Strike 2. Now that they have lights, I wonder if they'll get a new scoreboard.
I don't know.
Still have the manually operated scoreboard. Again, foul back, still 0-2. One thing about today, you see the guy who runs the scoreboard reading the paper. It's the only day game. He doesn't have any other scores to worry about today. He's on the gravy train this afternoon. Nobody else is playing. Mike might get a little warm out there.
A lot tougher to find those numbers at night, though.
A breaking ball fouled off. Still 0-2 to Tupple. I wonder if he has a little window unit air conditioner. I doubt it. I mean, it's not an electric scoreboard, so how could he have a electric appliance?
Got enough fans out there to keep him cool, though.
That's right. The bleachers are always full here. Need a lot of fans on a day like today. A little bit outside and high, 1-2. Fouled off. Got a piece of the home plate umpire Dana to move. Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. Calvin Schiraldi working hard in this heat and humidity, and Tupple has fouled off about 7 pitches.
Excuse me, Steve. He's been making his pitches, and Timmy keeps cueing them off, fouling off, just getting a piece of them.
Off-speed pitch locks Tupple up. And Schiraldi wins that battle by perseverance as much as anything else. 4th strikeout for Big Calvin. Still 2-1 Cubs in the middle of the 5th. We're back after this. More Budweiser.
Tonight on the news at 10, the roof caves in on a tourist at a New York hotel. How to prevent frat tragedies, and the Mets talk about baseball movies. Join us.
As we all know by now, night baseball is coming to Wrigley Field on August 8th. And here at Wrigley, the innovations really haven't stopped there. Each player on the Cubs was given by Louisville Slugger an experimental bat. It's ash, and that's traditional, but the sweet part is oak. And the players tell me when they hit the ball on the sweet part, it really jumps. And what with all the talk about corking the bat, maybe we found the perfect legal bat.
Or illegal bat.
Whichever. I talked to Dutch Rennert, as a matter of fact. We taped that before the game as Calvin Schiraldi leads off here in the bottom of the 5th inning, and he takes ball 1. 2-1 Cubs. But I talked to Dutch Rennert about that, and he said if the bat is not one piece, it is indeed illegal, and you would have to talk to the rules committee to get that changed. But I saw him using that yesterday before the game, and it was a very interesting concept. Oak, much harder than ash, and not a lot heavier, so it doesn't really distort the weight of the bat. But I was talking to Darren Jackson, and he said, boy, when he hits it on that good part of the bat where the oak is, that ball just jumps. 2-2 to Schiraldi.
The one thing that you and I noted, though, before the game when we were looking at that bat is that it looks like what they contend is the sweet spot really isn't in there exactly where you would want it.
Strike 3, Schiraldi down. Yeah, it looked like it was down too much toward the trademark, didn't it?
Yeah, it was sort of, as we see Schiraldi here taking strike 3. It really starts just past the trademark, and where you really want it is just a few inches from the end of the bat to down to, maybe a few inches up from the trademark.
Yeah, because the trademark, we talk about it a lot of times, when you hit it on the trademark, you really don't hit it on the sweet part. You often break bats by hitting it on the trademark.
And Ralph Kiner pointed out that if the bat were made of all oak, it would be entirely too heavy.
Too heavy, yeah.
For normal human beings, anyway.
Martinez fouls it back, but let's talk about that 3rd inning. After Schiraldi had gone down on a ground out, Martinez doubled, and then Palmeiro walked. Martinez and Palmeiro then stole 3rd and 2nd, respectively. Dawson was intentionally walked, and Martinez scored on an infield ground out by Ryne Sandburg, and that's the difference in this game. It's 2-1. He's 1 for 2. Nifty piece of base running. Cubs did that yesterday. Sean Dunston stealing 3rd in the 1st inning. Foul back, 1-2.
Well, Don Zimmer's had the Cubs running. They haven't had a great deal of success from a percentage point of view, but they're running more often than they have in recent years past before Zim became the manager.
Key steals are as important as A lot of steals.
And the last 2 days would certainly point that up as they've been successful on big occasions.
Curveball fouled away, still 1-2. Dave Martinez. Struggling with the bat now. He did have a 2-run homer in yesterday's ball game.
He was telling me this morning in the clubhouse that he feels a lot more comfortable the last couple of days. Of course, hitting a 2-run homer tends to do that for guys.
Indeed. Batted .292 last year with 8 home runs. And the thing is, he has 29 RBIs, and he's been batting first mostly. Drove in 36 last year. He has 16 RBIs batting first. Lines this one at Tuffle, 2 outs.
Well, he's certainly hitting the ball better, which would support what he said about feeling more comfortable. He ripped a double to right in the 3rd inning. He flied fairly deep to center his first time up, so he's making good contact.
Confidence really opens the eyes up. Not that they're shut and you're swinging blindly when you're going bad, but you just don't have your concentration there. No confidence. Rafael Palmeiro now takes ball 1.
A lot of times you hear what really is a euphemism on the part of hitters who are struggling, who say, I'm just not seeing the ball well.
Fouled out of play, 1-1.
And sometimes that is a lack of confidence and concentration. And if they were able to concentrate better, they would see the ball better.
From a technical standpoint, it could be that the front shoulder's pulling out of there, too, and you're literally not seeing the ball well.
Yeah, because your head is going to go when your shoulder goes.
Or you may be seeing it with one eye as opposed to 2, because the front shoulder is pulling out of there. It is a very difficult task hitting a moving object, especially when it's moving 90 miles an hour. 1-2 to Palmeiro, 2-1. Cubs on top, bottom of the 5th. Did he go? No, says third base umpire Greg Bonet.
One thing Palmeiro has been able to do is keep from striking out, as Ralph mentioned earlier, but he goes down this time.
That's the 2nd time in 2 days that Rafi has struck out. It's 2-1 Chicago after 5. We go to the 6th after this from Budweiser. When we're on the road, we all have different ways of doing our laundry. Ralph and I send ours out for one-day service. Steve Zabriski brings his here to Wrigley Field on the clothesline, right?
Well, see, I'm catching a plane after the game.
That's right.
I didn't have time to leave it at the hotel.
Understood. You got to function differently.
And how about those?
A lot of T-shirts, though, huh?
How about those GQ outfits out there, too?
0-1 to David Cone, 2-1. Cubs on top. 1-1. Remember that old football saying, he was clotheslined? I was clotheslined as a kid. I mean, ducking in and out of backyards and everything, playing with clotheslines up. You don't see many clotheslines anymore. Good play by Sandburg to get Cone. 1 out.
Well, I guess that's with the advent of the automatic dryer.
Yes.
Sort of eliminated that to a certain degree.
Tell you what, both pitchers, as effective as they've been today, there have not been any clotheslines hanging out. The one outside the park's the only one we've seen. Not a lot of balls hit hard. Schiraldi and Cone in total control, and Dykstra now the batter. Linney singled in the 1st inning and was caught stealing and struck out in the 3rd. He's 1 for 2. Strike 1. The Mets had a runner caught stealing in the 1st inning, and Howard Johnson picked off in the 2nd, and then Strawberry caught stealing in the 4th. So their base running has left little to be desired so far in this game. 1-1 to Dykstra. Two to Linney. kitchen tick.
That time, he had to go all the way around.
Yeah.
Jody Davison, home plate umpire, Dana Duluth.
We ought to put a counter on the touches.
Jeez. Could have gotten a hot dog out from a vendor in the stands by the time he got back.
Line to right, Dawson in, and he can't come up with it. Dykstra's going to try for two, but he held up. Boy, he had second base on his mind. Wide turn, but Dawson recovered in a hurry. So a base hit for Dykstra, his second of the ball game.
Dawson really wanted to catch the ball, and of course Dykstra really wanted to go to second. And another good play by Andre keeps Dykstra from going to second. Dawson's coming hard. Now he knows he can't make the catch, but he keeps the ball in front of him. He was fighting the sun and the fact that the ball was an in-between hop by the time it hit there. But to knock it down and hold Dykstra to a single is a good play.
So Lee Mazzilli, who is 0 for 2, the batter. It's a 2-1 game. Cubs on top. High, ball 1. Maz, if you haven't heard, in there for Keith Hernandez. Hernandez back on the disabled list. A very serious hamstring pull, it is thought. It has not been confirmed, but they think it could be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks that Hernandez will be gone. Outside corner, 1-1 to Mazzilli.
And the reason they say that, you say, well, how come they can't tell? You know, nobody can tell. Doctors have looked at it. The only thing that's going to determine how soon Keith comes back is how the leg responds to treatment. And that will obviously also be determined by just how serious it actually is. If there is a slight tear, then he's looking at closer to the 8-week time frame. If there isn't, it's probably closer to the 4-week assessment.
1-1 to Mazzilli. Dykstra belly flops back. Well, there's been so much done about knees and ankles and elbows, arthroscopic surgery, tendon transplants. Maybe the next thing in sports medicine, hamstrings and quads. Foul ball, Law giving chase. Foul ball, 1-2. I was under the false impression back in 1975, as you look at Sam Palazzo giving the sign, that you could give cortisone shots to the belly of the muscle. It's not true. You can't do that. Can if it's, my understanding is if it's attached to a bone, elbow, tendon, muscle near a bone. I don't quite understand how the cortisone works. That's the reason, Hernandez, you just can't simply give him a cortisone shot and say, go get him. Curveball is high, 2-2.
Basically what cortisone does, and I've had a number of them myself years ago, is it's an anti-inflammatory. And it does work significantly well when there is a joint connection involved. The problem is that sometimes, if you're not careful, you can eliminate the discomfort and the immobility. But if you're out there without the ability to judge what else is happening to that injured joint, you may do more damage without really realizing it at the time.
2-2 to Mazzilli. Dykstra at first. Line down the right field line. Dykstra's going to go at least to third base. Mazzilli stops at first, and the Mets with an opportunity to tie it. First and third and 1 out.
Mazzilli with a good at bat, and again, as was the case when Tuffle was up in the 5th inning and eventually struck out, Mazzilli fouled off some tough pitches to get one he could handle. He got it, and then he got it, and lined it. And again, a good play by Dawson. Andre hustling over there to cut the ball off, which not only held Mazzilli to a single, but more importantly for the Cubs, held Dykstra at third. First and thirding is something the Mets have not been doing very much of lately. But they've got first and third with 1 out here.
So Lenny gasping for air. It is really a humid day. We've seen more humid here in Chicago. We've seen less humid yesterday, as a matter of fact. And because of the humidity, Pat Perry is being brought into the ballgame, the left-hander. He's going to pitch to Dave Magadan. So Don Zimmer giving Schiraldi a chance to win this game, even though should Mazzilli score, the Mets will take the lead. 2 runners on. The Cubs have a 1-run lead, and you want to come back after we hear from Record a Call.
What's the naked truth behind Broadway's longest-running play?
People are talking.
Was John F. Kennedy a victim of the mob?
People are talking.
Is the king still alive? You'll see startling photos.
People are talking.
Richard Bay and Renee Hambley deliver the inside scoop on the new 2-hour People Are Talking live.
We'll go behind the headlines for today's top newsmakers.
Plus plenty of celebrities and a whole lot of gossip.
Live at 10 beginning Monday on Channel 9.
Pat Perry making his 24th appearance of the season, 3-2 with a save and a 3.97 ERA. He's worked 34 innings, walking 12, striking out 16, and he has allowed 5 home runs among the 30 hits he's given up.
So Dave Magadan will be facing Pat. The Mets have Mazzilli at first, Dykstra at third, 1 out, and they trail 2-1. We're in the 6th inning. Ground ball, Perry. Perry's going to come home, and Dykstra on a nice base running play already. Mazzilli to third, and hits Dykstra. Bounces back, here comes Mazzilli. Safe at home, Mets ahead, 3-2. Oh, brother. Perry may have had a sure double play by going to second base to get Magadan.
And the argument here is that Len Dykstra put his arm up to deflect the ball. Vance Law all over home plate umpire Dana DeMuth to the point where DeMuth almost wasn't able to make the call on the second base runner.
Did he throw them up naturally, or did he throw them up in order to hit the ball thrown by Law? We'll see.
Law seems to think he did not do it naturally. Harry Wendelstedt, the crew chief, and the other umpires conferring, and here's the play. Perry makes a good play. He gets Dykstra at home, or tries to at least, and eschews the double play. Now watch, here's Law. He chases Dykstra back. Now watch Dykstra.
Oh, yeah.
He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Oh, yeah. No question about it.
And the home plate umpire, Dana DeMuth, apparently did not see that. Here's another angle. Jody Davis chases him back. Now watch Dykstra. He looks back for the throw. He's anticipating the throw. And he blocks it with his elbow.
Or did it hit his head? It may have hit his helmet.
Let's look. We can see here. It looked like it missed his elbow and hit him in the head. He did put his arm up intentionally, but maybe it didn't hit his arm. It looks like it hits him on the helmet. It does not hit him on the arm.
Steve, I think you called it exactly right. The very fact that he's looking back means he's guilty. Hits him in the helmet. He jumps up. Tried to have it hit his arm, and it popped his helmet.
He intentionally tried to get hit, and it worked.
You figure, why not? You're in a rundown. Why not? You're dead anyway. Maybe the umpire will miss it.
In that instance, you're always hopeful of being hit, even if you don't do it intentionally.
I tell you, the big thing, though, in my opinion, and the way I saw it, is that if Perry goes to second base with Magadan running, it's a sure double play.
That's exactly right.
With Dunstan's arm.
And it was good base running on the part of Dykstra to make them come and make a play on him. And Don Zimmer, I think, right now may be protesting the game.
Maybe. Well, the umpire will go to the public address announcer, but it's still an umpire's judgment. And this play is probably the best play this year that would indicate instant replay for an umpire would clearly show that Dykstra did it intentionally.
Even though the ball misses his arm and hits him in the helmet, there's no question he was trying to get hit intentionally, and that's Don Zimmer's argument.
No question about it. We have not heard whether it's protested or not. Strawberry promptly rips it to right. Magadan's going to score, and the Mets lead it 4-2. How about all of this? Man. Some heads-up baseball by Dykstra.
Heads up is right. He popped his head up. RBI and sacrifice line drive for Strawberry. His 46th RBI of the year.
Usually, we will have a press box announcement upon protest, but I'll guarantee if they protest that, show that film to the league office. The league office may intervene. However, it's still umpire's judgment as to whether Dykstra did it intentionally or not. But boy, as you could clearly see, and you pointed out so properly, Steve, if that wasn't intentional, I don't know what was. Man. Ripped to center by McReynolds. So Kevin with his first hit of the day. Mets with 3 runs. Shaky runs here in the 6th. McReynolds at first with 2 outs, and that's going to be all for Perry. Looks like Lester Lancaster is going to be the pitcher. Don may not be through with the umpires. We'll see. But we won't see until this word from Delta Airlines. We'll be back.
Les Lancaster now the 3rd pitcher in as Pat Perry goes only a 1/3 of an inning. And Lester making his 28th appearance of the year, 3 and 4 with 2 saves, as you see. Has been doing an outstanding job for Chicago of late.
Well, the pitcher, Pat Perry, has been credited with an assist on that play. Vance Law charged with an error, the first error of the ball game. 3 runs have come across as a result of Pat Perry, in my opinion, not going to second base. That's the key. And, I mean, Dykstra makes a good play trying to score, breaking up the double play. Well, you got to know the runner. Magadan's not fast afoot. And with Dunstan's arm at shortstop, they get Magadan by 2 steps at first.
And the inning is over.
Right. 2-1 Cubs. But it's 4-2 Mets as a result of that muffed play. You're watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. No balls, 1 strike to Carter. That play will be talked about. If the Mets go on to win this game, the play will be talked about a long time. Strike 2. No balls, 2 strikes.
Well, am I correct in the fact that we have not received any notification that the Cubs have filed a protest?
That's right. So the play stands.
I find that hard to believe.
I do too.
It's not protesting.
It's a full house. It certainly can't be the money that it costs to that they charge for a protest. There is a fee on that, you know. I think it's something like $5,000 or something. Rarely does the fee enter into it, but it did at one time. You'd be surprised. Well, Carter goes down, but the Mets with 3 unearned runs here in the 6th inning, and they lead 4-2, middle of the 6th. We're back after this from MetLife. A sweeping panoramic view of downtown Chicago, the town that Billy Sunday could not shut down.
You can see, if you look closely, the propeller of the blimp in the right-hand side of your screen.
Hey, good going.
Now they just panned away from it, but you don't often see a picture of a blimp propeller.
No, you don't.
What a city, huh? What a view. Well, here's the play again. Dave Magadan grounds it back to Pat Perry. Perry had a play at second, looked at second, but Dykstra's alert base running caused Perry to change his mind. Now watch Dykstra as Vance Law throws home. It looked at first as if the ball hit Dykstra's arm. It did not. It actually hit his helmet, but there was no doubt that it was a blatant attempt, as Mazzilli also scored on the play, for Dykstra to get hit by the ball. It was not called. The play stands, and the Mets score 3 unearned runs to take the lead.
Here's Dawson. Andre was intentionally walked in the 3rd. He had an infield hit and scored on a Sandburg triple in the 1st. A ball and no strikes. Cone has had a lot of time off. The argument, a long inning. We'll see how effective he is. Line to center. So Dawson, his 2nd hit of the ball game, and the batter Ryne Sandburg representing the tying run. 4-2 New York.
Excuse me. Who was that speaking?
Paul Winchell.
Oh, was it? Okay. That certainly wasn't me. You cannot measure the ways in which Andre Dawson... That's it. Timmy's gone for the rest of the game.
You got me on that. Did you do that on purpose? Come on. That was good. Curveball, strike one to Sandburg.
Anyway, what I tried to say twice was you just can't measure the ways in which Dawson contributes to this team. He's slacked off a little bit lately offensively, but to have him out there every day makes the Chicago Cubs a different ball club.
1-1. Sounded like you just flopped out of that blimp with a helium impersonation.
Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Really weird.
Breathe in helium and then speak or try to.
Voice sounds mighty squeaky. 1-1 to Sandburg. Fly ball to center and playable. Dykstra makes the play. Sixth inning baseball, 1 out, 1 on. The Mets with 3 unearned runs in the top of the sixth, taking the lead 4-2. First time the Mets have been out in front in this 2-game series. Cubs ahead all day yesterday with 4 in the first 2 innings, and then the strong right arm of Greg Maddux. Here's Mark Grace, lines one to center, base hit. Dawson's going to try for third. Now he goes to second. It's an overthrow, and Carter backs up. Looked like the ball skidded under Tim Teufel's glove.
Had Dykstra made a good throw, they appeared to have the aggressive Andre Dawson dead in his tracks. Good job of hitting by Grace, who waited on that breaking ball and served it to center. Dykstra's going to throw to short. Now he sees that he can throw behind the runner, but he couldn't come up with it. Teufel diving for the throw.
Looked like Timmy thought it was like a force play or something. Look how he kind of hugs the bag instead of coming over and getting in front of the ball.
Maybe it surprised him that Dykstra threw, but how could he be
I think
surprised?
it did. I think you're right.
He shouldn't really be surprised because Dawson took such a big turn. But it did look as if Teufel was surprised and then just had a sort of dive after the ball.
All right, so Dawson stays at second. Now remember the Cubs' propensity to steal third. They've done it twice in 2 days. Vance Law is 0 for 2. Curveball, strike one. Dawson at second. Grace at first. 5 hits for the Cubs, 6 for the Mets, 4-2 New York. No balls, 2 strikes to Vance Law.
David Cone painting that outside corner and appeared to take a little something off of that pitch.
Sometimes hitters use that phrase, taking something off, but I think what happens, a pitcher may squeeze it a little tighter than another. It's not intentionally. Good play, Carter. Or it's not intentional, I should say, the off-speed breaking ball. They're just varying speeds of breaking balls depending on how tightly gripped the breaking ball is by the pitcher. Chuck Cottier at third base. Jose Martinez, the first base coach. A ball and 2 strikes to Law. Swing and a miss. Law down on strikes. 6 strikeouts for Cone. 2 outs.
Second time he has struck out Vance Law, who's now 0 for 3. And Vance Law, coming into this game, hitting .474 against Mets pitching. David just humped up and blew one right by him.
After seeing all those breaking balls, 3 in a row, and now the heater.
And David's heater explodes, and it did that time.
Jody Davis has struck out and grounded to short. David Cone trying for his 9th win of the year and his 7th as a starter.
Strike one. The Pirates won last night, beating Montreal on Sid Bream's two-run double. Davy Johnson wanting to get as far away from the Pirates as he can. This one fouled away, and realizes that somebody's got to stop the Cubs. This is a divisional championship waiting to happen right here. These guys are good.
They are, and they're not only good, they're playing well. And the one thing that Chicago has been lacking has been pitching, and they're getting it, as evidenced by young Mr. Maddox.
Jamie Moyer not on track yet. Cubs don't have a left-hander in the bullpen that's got a lot of experience as a stopper. They do have Pat Perry. They do have Frank DePino. DePino has been effective, but inconsistent.
But the pitching they have this year is 50 to 75% better than they've had in years past.
Curveball fouled away. 1-2 to Jody Davis.
Al Nipper throwing.
Al just activated off the DL. Swing and a miss. Jody Davis strikes out, and Cone gets out of trouble. It's 4-2 New York after 6. Ralph Kiner joins the Big Z after this from Dodge Cars.
Tonight on the news at 10, the roof caves in on a tourist at a New York hotel. How to prevent frat tragedies, and the Mets talk about baseball movies. Join us.
The shadows now coming into play. As you see over the mound, the new light standard casting a shadow, and home plate in the shadow of the facade of the stadium roof itself. It is 4-2 New York as we go to the 7th inning at the newly lit friendly confines. And back in a fellow who had many a good day in this ballpark. In fact, he still has good days here. Ralph Kiner.
Had a few good nights in the town of Chicago.
I don't doubt that.
My hometown. Well, you saw a shot of the shadows and the light standards here. Looks like a scene out of The Natural, doesn't it? Those lights up there.
Yep, a lot of like the old ballpark they used for that movie in Buffalo, which has been replaced by a new ballpark.
And they say it's outstanding. It's done in old-fashioned decor with modern equipment. Howard Johnson takes his second pitch, 1 ball, 1 strike. Johnson 1 for 2 today. Single to left center field, and that drove in the Mets' first run in the second. Well, that play, the Dykstra defensive play on offense, certainly setting it up. Look at the shadows now. And the breaking ball swung on a miss, 1-2. Lancaster pitching for the Cubs.
And speaking of pitching for the Cubs and the shadows, reminiscent of when Big Lee Smith used to ply his trade here in the late innings and the twilight in Chicago.
Off-speed pitch, and out of the strike zone, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Lee Smith hard enough to hit in the daylight, and they bring him in the 9th inning when you couldn't see anything.
This place is really a difficult ballpark when they sat in center field, where they have it blocked off now, and that pitch fouled, so the count stays at 2-2. Used to throw that white ball out of those white shirts. That was all in it. I believe it was 1954 that they blocked out those seats in center field.
And not only would they throw it up there out of the white shirts, they'd give you a round bat and tell you to go hit the round ball squarely.
You imagine seeing that white baseball out of that background if it were filled in there. That's how tough it was. 3-2 the count. It was lethal. You know, you and Tim were talking about that play where Dykstra looked like he was trying to get hit intensely by the rundown throw. Shades of 1978 when Reggie Jackson, there's a base hit to right field, might go through for extra bases. Johnson's on his way. Dawson's throw will not be in time, and Howard has a 2-base hit as he leads off here in the 7th.
A hustling double by Hojo as he laces one into the right center field gap. His second hit, he drove in the Mets' first run in the second. with a base hit to left field, and he hits a rope. And again, a good play by Andre Dawson, because had the Hawk not flown over there and cut this ball off, Howard Johnson with his speed would have had a triple.
So he has a double, no one out, and that'll bring up Tim Tuffle talking about Reggie Jackson in a situation where the Dodgers were trying to make a double play, was hit by the throw by Russell of the Dodgers, and had kept the Dodgers from making a double play that would have, in time, won the World Series for the Dodgers over the Yankees.
Reggie's hip pointer.
That was the rumba.
He just threw his hip out and took it right on the point. Tim Tuffle really got fooled on that pitch from Lancaster. The ball diving down. He tried to hold the swing, and in agony could not.
Incidentally, Bucky Dent was the MVP of the World Series that year. If Russell had not hit Reggie Jackson, he would have been the MVP. Hit 433 in that series.
A lot of people thought Reggie should have been the MVP.
He was. He certainly got that derriere out there where it was intentionally done. Bouncing ball up the middle, and it's through for a base hit. And coming around from second base and scoring is Howard Johnson, and the Mets tack one on as Tuffle comes through with a base hit. And Tuffle was not in the original lineup at the last minute. Davey Johnson put him in because the wind was blowing out, and he thought that he would be a little more likely to hit a home run if he were in the lineup. Pretty hard to hit a home run when you're not playing.
Darn near impossible. This ball gets by Dunston, who makes a fine effort. And with this base hit, Tim Tuffle not only drives in the 5th New York run, but he extends his hitting streak to 11 games, and he'll be lifted now in favor of Backman, who will pinch run for him and stay in the game at second base.
So the Mets with the runner at first, to run in, no one out, and it looks like we're going to have a little time here. Batter coming up, the pitcher David Cone, followed by another left-hand batter, Lenny Dykstra, and the switch hitter Lee Mazzilli. He has DePino throwing in the bullpen, a left-hander.
And Dick Pohl, the pitching coach, is out. There's Frank DePino in the Chicago bullpen. Pohl checking with Lancaster, but at the same time giving DePino a chance to get loose. And as you can see, DePino's working hard at it, trying to get ready in a hurry.
Capacity crowd here today. Cubs are averaging around 26,000 per game. Mets are about 36,000 per game. Of course, this is a much smaller ballpark than Shea Stadium. Cones bunts the ball out to the mound to play possible at second, but Lancaster doesn't want to take the chance. Picks up the sure out at first, and on the sacrifice, Backman down to second.
Textbook baseball by the Mets here in the 7th inning. The leadoff double by Johnson, the big base hit by Tuffle to drive him in, and then the pitcher David Cone lays down the sacrifice bunt that moves Backman, pinch running for Tuffle over to second now with one out.
And we're going to have a pitching change.
A double switch will be made as Don Zimmer goes to home plate umpire Dana DeMuth. Lancaster will be lifted for DePino, as Lancaster is scheduled to bat second in the bottom half of the 7th inning for Chicago.
So while we have a new pitcher come in, right now a word from AT&T. Well, here's a beautiful shot of a beautiful city, Chicago. And on the mound, Frank DePino.
Frank DePino 0-3 with 3 saves. He is making his 32nd appearance of the year. His ERA at 4.43. And in 44 2/3, Frank has given up 5 homers, walked 15, struck out 36. He will bat now 7th in the order for Chicago as Jody Davis is lifted, and the new catcher in the game is Jim Sundberg for the Cubs, who will bat 9th.
One of those home runs DePino that has given up. It's Berryhill catching, I guess, instead of Sundberg. Damon Berryhill. One of those home runs that DePino gave up, a 13-inning home run by Howard Johnson that cost the Cubs a game at Shea Stadium. Lenny Dykstra, the batter, and now Berryhill getting together with his pitcher on the signs as Dunston comes in to find out what set they're going to use. Dykstra 2 for 3, a single in the first, a single in the sixth, and a single in the sixth inning, starting a 3-run rally for the Mets. Incidentally, on that rundown play where he was hit by the throw from Vance Law, if the umpires had so ruled, Dykstra would have been out. The runners that were on base would have had to go back to first and second. And the Mets would not have 3 runs. And the first pitch is popped up in the air. It's in the infield. Coming up, the third baseman, Vance Law, and he makes the play. A little confusion there with Mark Grace, Vance Law, and the catcher, Berryhill.
Well, somebody's got to take control. And no one did until Vance Law came in and took control. Look at DePino. He's just standing there watching the ball.
Got to be yelling.
He's got to be calling for it. Berryhill's got to be telling somebody to take it. Berryhill shouldn't make the play because the ball's going away from him. And he should call either Law, the third baseman, or Grace, the first baseman, to take it. But nobody took charge until Vance did.
So they pick up the out, 2 men away, and Lee Mazzilli will be the batter, and Lee will bat from the right-hand side. Lee 1 for 3, big base hit in the 6th inning. Capino with his first pitch, a half swing, strike 1. Cubs have won 5 in a row here at Wrigley Field. Winning yesterday 4-1. They have won 6 of their last 8. They have moved to 8 games back of the Mets. Pittsburgh winning yesterday 6.5 out in second place. Bouncing ball to the second baseman, Sandburg, and the throw to first base retires the side. 1 run on 2 hits, and 1 man left on the score at the end of 6.5 innings. The Mets 4, the Chicago Cubs 2. Now here's a word from Dodge Cars.
Fans, come see the Mets play the Astros on Thursday, June 30th at 7:35 p.m. and receive for free something that even money can't buy. It's Conn's Beef Franks Baseball Card Night. Every fan who attends that evening's game will receive a set of full-color action baseball cards of every Mets player. Also included is a card of Davey Johnson, Mets coaches, and a team photo, courtesy of the Mets and Conn's Beef Franks. Mets ticket information is available by calling 718-507-TIXX during business hours.
Most glorious thing that ever happened to me. Fantastic.
Treat you like a pro, they dress you like a pro, and they work you like a pro.
They're talking about New York Mets Dream Week, 7 days of baseball at its best. Work out under the supervision of members of the New York Mets staff at the team's training complex in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Hone your skills in daily competition and meet and compete against heroes of the past and in a dream game against the pros. For more information on New York Mets Dream Week, call 718-706-4100.
Mets leading by a score of 5-2 as we go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. And the Mets with an entirely new infield. Capacity crowd here today. Johnson moving from short to third base. Magadan, who was at third, has gone to first base. Elster coming in the ball game will bat in Mazzilli's spot. Mazzilli out of the game was at first, and Backman running for Tuffle takes over at second base. Outfield remains the same, and David Cone on the mound will be working to Sean Dunston as his first batter. Dunston in this game 0 for 2. He has flied to left and grounded out. Has an idea about bunting. Johnson at third moving up. He was right on top of the play. It's ball. It's strike 1. Dunston brought a 13-game hitting streak into this game, so that's in jeopardy. And the off-speed pitch, 1 ball, 1 strike. Cone has struck out 7, his strikeout high 12. That was against San Diego in May. And that's the high in the National League. Kevin Gross and Mike Scott also striking out 12 in one game. The high in the major leagues Clemson and Langston both have 16 strikeouts in one game. 2 balls, 1 strike to count. And the fastball fouled. Langston in his last 25 games hitting .381. Behind him is Damon Berryhill, who went into the ball game and was put in the 9th batting position. A swing at the curveball, 3 strikeouts in a row for David Cone as he picks up some strikeouts in his last three batters.
And a total of 8 in the ball game, and a number of them have been pitches similar to that, where David Cone has literally fooled the hitter. And just as many, however, have been blown away with that good hopping fastball.
So the batter will be Damon Berryhill. Batting .278, 1 home run, 6 runs batted in, and that 1 home run against the Mets. First pitch fouled off. His home run came off David Cone on June the 2nd, his first Major League home run. It put the Cubs up 1-0 in the 10th inning. The Mets won that game in 13th on a home run by Howard Johnson. The Mets winning by a score of 2-1. And in the bottom of the 10th inning, Mazzilli drove in the tying run to send it further along. 1-2. Berryhill also broke up a no-hit, no-run game being pitched by Dwight Gooden in that last homestand against the Cubs. That was in the 8th inning with no one out. Got a base hit to break up the no-hitter. And now he comes up with a base hit here. So Berryhill, a base hit in his first at-bat, and that'll bring up Dave Martinez.
6 hits now for Chicago, and Berryhill with a good stroke laces one through the hole into right field. Cubs like him as a player for the future.
Martinez 1 for 3 today. Doubled in the 3rd inning. And he takes for ball 1. Last time up, he lined out to second. Yesterday, he had a home run against the Mets, and his mother came up from Florida to see him, a surprise visit. And he said that was the inspiration for the home run yesterday. And this ball hit foul down the left side, out of play.
And his mother's going to be here this entire homestand into the middle of next week. She's up here from Orlando, Florida.
Could have come up with you.
I came from New York, though. But I'm going home to Orlando tonight.
All right. Roger McDowell throwing in the bullpen for the Mets. Mets leading 5-2. A runner on, 1 out. Bottom half of the 7th inning. And a strike call. Cubs leading the National League in hitting with a .267 team batting average. Slider hit hard to right. Strawberry will play it on the bounce. Berryhill moves to second base and holds there, and now the tying run is at the plate.
Mel Stottlemyre coming out of the dugout. Cubs have something going here in the 7th. Second hit of the ball game by Martinez, who doubled and scored in the 3rd. And in the 6th inning, David Cone was in trouble when he had runners at first and second with 1 out. Mel Stottlemyre wants to find out how he feels on this hot, humid afternoon. He's thrown a lot of pitches. He was able to pitch out of the jam in the 6th inning by striking out both Law and Davis to end the inning with runners at first and second. And there you see the emerald jewel of beautiful Wrigley Field just outside the city of Chicago on the near north side.
Clark and Addison.
And that beautiful lake shore of Lake Michigan in the background. The venerable Harry Carey leading the crowd during the last half inning in the traditional singing of Take Me Out to the Ball.
new eatery downtown and doing a landslide business. Here's Rafael Palmeiro, and he takes the first pitch, strike one. Palmeiro has struck out, he has walked, and he has flied to center.
You know why Harry has restaurants? He has one in Arizona, too. You know why?
No, I don't know why.
He hates to pay for a meal.
I love that. A wild swing of the miss. Palmeiro struck out yesterday and has struck out here today, and that's really unusual.
Now he gets fooled by David Cone's late break here. Ball diving down into the dirt. Palmeiro, among those with over 100 at-bats, #1 in the National League at striking out the fewest times.
And that pitch a ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Palmeiro struck out only 13 times this year. He has averaged a strikeout every 25 plate appearances, which is extremely good.
Mark Grace of the Cubs is better than that on an average, but doesn't have as many at-bats or enough at-bats to qualify.
The fastball 2-2. Give you an idea about Palmeiro. He went 29 plate appearances without missing a pitch. Finally missed one against Dwight Gooden. The next day hit a home run off Dwight Gooden. That was in his first appearance in the majors. He has struck out for the second time in this game. 9th strikeout for David Cone.
Well, this is just high cheese right here. Up and away of one of the most difficult places for left-handed hitters to handle a ball. And David Cone blew it right by Palmeiro, who actually swung at a ball out of the strike zone. But that late, hard movement is what makes hitters chase pitches.
That ball just exploded up there, and it brings up Andre Dawson. And Dawson represents the tying run, so as Bob Murphy would say, fasten your seatbelts. Dawson with a single his last time up, and he takes outside for ball 1. Dawson walked intentionally in the 3rd. Also had an infield base hit in the 1st, so he is 2 for 2. MVP of the National League last year, the first to ever be the MVP on a losing club that finished last. And the swing at the fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Boy, that was just power against power. Cone reared back and fired it in there, and Dawson had a horrendous cut at it. Watch this. Just blew it right by him.
Now going back and getting a called strike on the outside corner. Dawson very unhappy with Dana DeMuth.
A delayed call by DeMuth. You want to see some late movement? Look at this ball. I think it fooled Dana DeMuth. I thought the ball was outside. So did Dawson. But at the last second, not only did the ball break back in, and you don't see Andre argue very often, but Carter pulled the ball back in. And I think that home plate umpire Dana DeMuth got fooled a little bit by the movement of the pitch and Gary Carter's movement of the glove.
So it's 1-2. Cone with a fastball. It swung on and fouled back out of play.
Very rare that you see Andre Dawson as volatile as he was right there on that call. But that pitch, he had an argument. That pitch did appear to be outside.
So they do it all over again. 1 ball, 2 strikes, and this pitch is hit foul again. Ball back into the crowded stands. Now remains a 1 ball and 2 strikes. Yosh Kawana, who has been working here at Wrigley Field since 1946.
He is seated with the sailor hat right behind Don Zimmer. His brother is the clubhouse guy for the Dodgers.
Again, 1 ball, 2 strikes, and the slider taken outside 2-2. Yosh has a legacy here in Chicago. When Wrigley sold the ball club, part of the deal was that Yosh Kawana would stay here as long as he wanted to stay. If he could write a book, or if he did write a book, nobody would be saved. That ball swung on and fouled back out of play.
I'll tell you one thing about Yosh. He guards that clubhouse like a St. Bernard dog. Or maybe even like a Doberman Pinscher.
Wonderful guy. You know, his parents were evacuated out of California when the Japanese did the Pearl Harbor thing. And Yost was in the Army for the United States. Japanese boy, and his father and mother were evicted from their home in Boyle Heights, California. 2-2. And it's popped up, and here comes Strawberry. It'd be a tough play. Strawberry can't get to it. It drops in. 1 run scores, and Strawberry runs it back in. And Dawson, with a bloop base hit, has put the tying run at first base.
To give you an idea as to how important 2-out base hits are, had there not been 2 outs, Berryhill probably would not have scored on this ball because he would have had to hold up to see if it was going to be caught. I don't think Darrell saw the ball right away. In that tough sun field, as you mentioned earlier, Ralph, it's very, very difficult to pick the ball up, and that ball was hit very high, and Darrell didn't see it. And obviously, he's also playing Dawson very deep. So Roger McDowell is going to be brought in relief of David Cone with 2 out here in the 7th inning.
So the Mets are leading 5-3. The tying run is at first, and we'll be back after this word from AT&T.
The fortunes of the game. Had the ball been caught, David Cone is still in the ball game. The inning is over, but he is out of the ball game in favor of Roger McDowell.
And the first pitch by Roger. Diving catch in center field by Lenny Dykstra. And Dykstra does it again. Yesterday, an almost impossible catch in left center field. And here, ending the inning with a great catch in straightaway center. In the inning, 1 run on 3 hits, 2 men left on base to score at the end of 7. It's the Mets 5 and the Cubs 3. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover.
Now you can say what you want about Lloyd Lindsey Young, but when it comes to accurate weather forecasts, he bats about 900.
The catch that Len Dykstra made in left center field in yesterday's ball game was probably a better catch than the one he made to end the inning here in Chicago today. But this one is significantly more important to the New York Mets. As they had the go-ahead run up, Len Dykstra robs Ryne Sandburg of what could have been an extra base hit and certainly would have been an RBI with a diving effort. Dykstra's catch deep in left center yesterday. And this one coming hard and right there to keep the Mets in the lead as we go now to the top half of the 8th.
And the batter will be Dave Magadan. Dave 1 for 3 in this ball game. And DePino with his first pitch for ball 1. Magadan figured in the most unusual play of this ball game. The runners at first and third and 1 man out. He hit the ball back to Perry, the pitcher. Pat Perry had a chance for a double play on Magadan to get out of the inning. He elected to play the play on the runner at third. And the runner at third was Lenny Dykstra, and Dykstra got hit by the throw by Vance Law. 2 runs scored on the throwing error, and a controversial call by Dana DeMuth, the home plate umpire. Dykstra appeared that he was trying to get hit by the ball intentionally. He threw up an arm, and the ball hit him on the helmet. But the Cubs argued to no avail, as they argued that he should have been out for intentionally trying to be hit by the throwing ball. Magadan pulls away from the high inside fastball, 3-1. Mets got 3 runs in the inning. But if Perry had thrown for the double play and made an accurate throw, they would have had a double play with no runs in and out of the inning. Magadan attempts to bunt on the 3-1 pitch.
You want to explain that?
No, I can't. I wish you wouldn't ask. How can you bunt on the 3-1 pitch when you should be sitting on a home run? You should say, I want this one right down the slot, and I'm going to hit it out of here. Count goes to 3-2. Errol Strawberry on deck. fastball hit out to deep left field. Back in the well goes Palmeiro, and he makes the catch. It's deeper in straightaway left field than it is in left center field here in this ballpark. So one away in the top of the 8th. The Mets leading 5-3, and the batter will be Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry with an RBI in the 6th on a sacrifice line drive. He is 0 for 2 today. Frank DePino, the pitcher, and he starts off with a hard slider, gets a strike call. Darryl second in slugging percentage at .599. Second in on-base average at .398. Tied for the league lead in home runs with 17. And a ball call, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Darryl, in fact, is in the top 5 in 6 different offensive categories in the National League stats.
Two balls, 1 strike.
And one thing he's doing a lot more of this year is walking. A lot more patience and discipline than in years past, and it's paying off.
A lot better selection of pitches to hit, which is what you have to do to be a great home run hitter. Swing and a miss, and it's 2-2. The second baseman, Ryne Sandburg. He picks up the ground ball, picks up the out. Sandburg fielding .991 with only 3 errors this year.
And we want to remind you, fans, that Saturday, July 23rd, they won't be sailing on Lake Michigan. Well, they may be, but it's going to be Equitable Old Timers Day at Shea Stadium, and we want to have you remember the following schedule changes if you're planning on attending the game Saturday, July 23rd. Gates will open at noon. Equitable Old Timers game starts at 1:30, and then the main game, rather, Brett, the Mets and the Braves at 3.
Secondary game.
I'll be all right.
Kevin McReynolds the batter, and he takes the first pitch for strike 1. McReynolds 1 for 2 and also hit by a pitch ball in today's game. Fastball, a ball called, 1 ball, 1 strike. If I didn't know better, I would have said that's Steve Zabriski out there sailing on Lake Michigan.
No, that's just Steve Zabriski wishing he was out there sailing.
Steve takes a sailboat out in San Diego all the time. Sails up there next to those big aircraft carriers and says, "Come on, I'll take you on."
That's right. Let's race. I'll tell you, I don't want to get into the story with 2 outs, but I almost got too close to one of those one time.
Little punch fly ball down the right field line. Dawson won't catch up with it. It'll drop in for a base hit. McReynolds trying for second and going in with a double. So McReynolds duplicates Dawson's base hit as he doubles to right with a little looping fly ball down the line.
Second hit for Kevin, who's 2 for 3. Fly deep to center in his other at-bat and was also hit by a pitch. Going with it. As the pitch is down and away, Dawson gave it a heck of an effort and played it well when he did get there, even though he couldn't make the catch. But McReynolds hustling all the way and with good speed, easily in at second with a double.
So a runner at second with 2 men out. The batter will be Gary Carter. Mets leading 5-3. Carter takes strike 1. Carter has struck out and grounded into 2 force plays. .299 home runs in his major league career. Hits it off the end of the bat, foul. Strike 2.
Not only Gary, but a lot of other people would like to see him hit that 300 and get it over with. Been a while.
Been over 5 weeks since he's had a home run, his last coming in San Diego on May 17th, I believe, 16th or 17th. 2 strikes to count. And he hits this one off the hands out in the shallow left center. Coming hard, the center fielder, Martinez, and he makes a great play. That saves a run, ends the inning, and Martinez duplicating, or maybe even making a better play than Lenny Dykstra to end the inning. 1 hit and 1 man left to score at the end of 7.5 innings. The Mets 5 and the Cubs 3. Now here's a word from Nissan. Well, Lenny Dykstra back in the 7th inning. Made a great catch on Ryne Sandburg to end the inning. A diving catch in center field. And that saved the run. At least 1. And then Gary Carter hitting the ball to center field, and Dave Martinez making a fantastic play. Even better, I'd have to say, Steve, than Lenny Dykstra's to save a run.
I'd agree. He came a long way for this ball.
Hit off the hands, a little blooper in the center field, and Dave Martinez coming up on the ball. McReynolds, the runner at second, already around third, and this great catch here by Dave Martinez. And now back to the live action, and here is Steve Zabriski.
Thanks, Ralphie. It's Mark Grace to lead off the 8th inning for Chicago. He's 1 for 3. He had a base hit his last time up. And he takes down low in the count from Roger McDowell, 2 balls and no strikes. Mark not only doesn't strike out very often, but he has been a hot hitter of late. Pitched too high, and it's now 3-0. Rogers pitched to Ryne Sandburg, the one that was laced into center field that Dykstra had to dive for, and now he's 3-0 to Grace and ball 4. So McDowell has not been real sharp so far.
Walked him on 4 pitches. Now the time runs at the plate.
Roger working in relief of starter David Cone, who went 6 1/3. 6 2/3, I should say. And stands to be the winning pitcher. The Mets can hold on. Vance Law, 0 for 3, has grounded to second and struck out twice. The 5th ball in a row here in the 8th inning. And now Gary Carter is going to go out and talk to Roger McDowell. Jerry Mumphrey on deck as a pinch hitter, as Frank DiPino, the pitcher, is scheduled up next, hitting in the 7th spot in the batting order. Randy Myers starting to throw in the New York bullpen. And the count, 1 ball, no strikes to Vance Law.
Law, who had a 16-game hitting streak earlier this season, now has hit a 9 in a row, but no hits today.
Ball 2.
This is a perfect hitter spot right here. He hasn't thrown a strike in his last 6 pitches. He just sit on the fastball.
There it is, and Law grounds it foul outside third. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Law started the day tied with Andres Galarraga of Montreal, his former teammate, 2nd in the National League batting at .326. Gerald Perry of Atlanta, still the leader, although he's been out of action, with a .332 average. 2 balls, 1 strike. Grace at first, nobody out. And a line drive to left. Kevin McReynolds makes the play, and Grace will have to go back to first.
Well, the 2 batters that have made contact off Roger McDowell have hit bullets. And this, a bullet to left field. Fortunately for Roger, McReynolds able to get to it, and he takes an extra base hit away.
That ball was tagged. So Jerry Mumphrey will be the pinch hitter for Frank DiPino, with Grace still at first and now 1 out. Mumphrey hitting just 132 with no homers and 3 RBIs.
As a pinch hitter, he's had 2 hits in 26 at-bats with no runs batted in.
What a turnaround for Mumphrey, who has done a pretty good job the last couple of years, coming off the bench for Chicago. Another ball from McDowell. New York leading 5-3. Bottom of the 8th inning. Grounded foul. No, it's a fair ball. Magadan to McDowell covering. Boy, did I get faked out.
Well, last year, Mumphrey was #1 in the National League in pressure situations. This year, he has really had a turnaround. Right here, he goes after a bad pitch. It's almost in the dirt. And it's picked up by Magadan. And the perfect throw to McDowell covering it first.
You're watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. Sean Dunston, the batter, 0 for 3, has flied out, grounded out, and struck out. Batting now with Grace at second and 2 down. Dunston representing the tying run. Dunston's 13-game hitting streak also on the line. Popped up. Magadan giving it a look. Has room. Makes the play, and the inning is over. So the leadoff walk goes for naught as McDowell pitches out of mild trouble here in the 8th inning. And we will go to the 9th with New York leading by 2, 5-3 after this for R.C. Cola.
Tonight on the news at 10, The Post, Billy Martin Yanks. What the Mets think of those baseball movies and how to make millions by bartering. Join us.
Sun-drenched is the word at Wrigley today as shirts have been off virtually the entire game for those who are in the sun. And back in the sun after about a month is Al Nipper, the new pitcher.
On the DL, now back in action. He has a record of 1 win and 2 losses. He has not had a save, an earned run average of 2.68, 27 walks, 12 strikeouts, 34 hits, and 43 2/3 innings. This is his 11th game for the Cubs since coming over in the Schiraldi deal that saw Lee Smith go to the Boston Red Sox.
And he'll be facing Howard Johnson leading off the top of the 9th inning for New York. Mets leading 5-3. And a strike with an off-speed pitch. It's 0-1.
In the 7th game of the World Series, when Nipper was pitching in relief, he saw Darryl Strawberry at the plate, and Strawberry hit a home run. And he didn't like the way Strawberry ran the bases. The first time he faced Strawberry in spring training, he drilled him.
After saying he was going to do it.
And unfortunately, he got fined.
Johnson 2 for 3. He has singled to drive in a run and doubled and scored a run. Swing and a miss. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Nipper is making his first appearance in exactly a month. The last time Al Nipper towed the rubber for the Cubs was May 24th.
He was the starting pitcher and losing pitcher in Game 4 of the World Series with the Mets.
Fly ball to deep center field. Martinez going back. It's gone. Home run, Howard Johnson. He got it up in the jet stream, and it just took it right on out of here. And the Mets lead 6-3.
Good example of what happens here at Wrigley Field with the wind blowing out. This is a high fly ball riding on the wind, and Howard Johnson gets his 11th homer of the year. Fastball, that ball getting up there, and Martinez looking and then finally giving up as it goes into the bleachers. And the Mets now lead 6-3.
Wally Backman batting for the first time after pinch running in the 7th inning for Tim Tuffle. And a swing and a miss. 1 ball, 1 strike. Wally hitting .275. Has hit .327 in his last 27 games. Really took charge when Tuffle went on the disabled list. Low and away. 2 balls, 1 strike.
He was in the first lineup made out by Davy Johnson today, but then at the last minute, Backman was scratched because of the wind blowing out, and Tuffle put in to take advantage of his extra power.
Strike called on the outside corner. Backman mildly disagrees, but the count now even at 2-2.
Well, could have been outside. Ball moving away and off the plate.
Line drive, base hit to center field. Wally would have no more of the questions as to whether or not the ball was a strike. He just took care of it.
Almost hit the same pitch. It was a little bit closer, but on the outside corner and a good base hit.
So Nipper has given up a home run and a single to the first 2 batters he has faced. Backman is at first base, and Roger McDowell will bat for himself.
He'll wish he's back in the disabled list.
Roger, who so adroitly and so, how should I say it, with such elan, such class, read the lineup to start the ball game today. Looking for the bunt, popped up in foul territory. Grace gets there and makes the play. So McDowell unable to sacrifice Backman to second as Mark Grace makes a good play for the first out here in the 9th inning.
Well, Rogers scoring out, gets a fastball, pops it up. Grace coming up with it, but not a whole lot of trouble.
So to the top of the order, and Len Dykstra. Lenny 2 for 4, a couple of singles and a run scored. Line drive to right. Dawson won't get it. Backman rounding second will hold there in deference to the strong arm of Andre Dawson. But another base hit. The third in 4 at-bats against Nipper. And the Mets with runners at first and second.
Well, Dawson juggling the ball, but a quick recovery, and he fires it into the shortstop. Has a great throwing arm.
He has a great everything.
Great attitude.
I think he was in line. I think he was actually first in line in each line when all of the parts were passed out. Because he got about the best of everything. What a physical specimen he is. And what a super person.
And he was turned down by the Kansas City Royal Baseball School. They said he was no prospect.
Right. That's why that baseball school didn't last very long. Great judge of talent. Kevin Elster batting for the first time. When David Johnson went to his defensive alignment, Kevin's hitting .201, takes low ball 1. Kevin with 4 homers and 17 RBIs. 6-3 New York. 1 out, top of the 9th inning. Runners at first and second, and a run in on Howard Johnson's leadoff home run. Well hit to left. Into the corner for extra bases. Backman's going to jog home. Dykstra's going to run home, and Elster has a 2-run double. And the Mets lead 8-3.
Well, it has been a rude awakening here for Nipper as he is clubbed again. A home run, a single, and a double. Mets have scored 3 runs, and they have broken this game open, if you can say that here at Wrigley Field with the wind blowing out.
Well, if Yogi really did say it isn't over till it's over, he must have been talking about Wrigley Field. Mike Capel's going to be Mike Capel's going to be the new pitcher for Chicago. And he will be the 6th pitcher of the afternoon for the Chicago Cubs. 8-3 New York. We're in the top of the ninth, still only one out, and we're back to Wrigley after this for Bud Light.
Channel 9 is for me, it's a great opportunity. It's a young station. It's aggressive. It's going places. There's opportunity to do new kinds of programming at Channel 9. News programming, to tell stories in the completeness of their detail and the fullness of their meaning.
Rollin Smith joins Channel 9.
People's viewing habits are changing. The news at 10 is where it's at.
Mike Capel facing Dave Magadan and takes high ball one.
Capel with a record of 1-1 and no saves. He has an earned run average of 3.32. This is his 16th game. He's worked 21 2/3 innings, given up 22 hits, walked 8, and struck out 14.
Elster at second, having doubled home 2 runs, and still only 1 out here in the 9th inning. In the dirt, ball 2. Magadan 1 for 4 and a base hit to right field in the 4th inning. He also reached on a fielder's choice and scored a run in the 6th. Dunston in for a brief conversation with Capel. Magadan hitting .462 against Chicago at the start of play today. Had an opportunity to play against the Cubs and performed admirably in the series at Shea. Ball 3 is outside, 3-0. Cubs have gone through the bullpens. Calvin Schiraldi started, then Pat Perry, Les Lancaster, Frank DePino, Al Nipper, and Mike Capel in there now. Just caught the corner. Magadan didn't think so, but it's 3-2.
And tomorrow it'll be Bob O'Heater on the mound for the Mets against Jamie Moyer.
The exodus is taking place at Wrigley as the Mets have broken the game open with 3 here in the 9th. They also scored 3 back in the 6th when they took the lead. Magadan fouls it off the front of the Chicago dugout. Still 3-2. Life blimp. Metropolitan Life, one of our sponsors, and they're providing some beautiful shots today. Mike Fitzpatrick controlling the big balloon, and Bob Michelson operating the camera.
That's quite an experience. I've ridden in one of those. Strange way of traveling through the air.
It's a very slow way of traveling.
It certainly is.
That thing's got the engines going and it's hanging motionless because it's sitting into the wind. Magadan strikes out. Second out of the inning and first strikeout, obviously, for Mike Capel. The first strikeout of a New York Met since the 5th inning.
Well, the count 3-2, and the fastball is missed. A lot of action on that pitch. Magadan seldom strikes out. Brings up Darryl Strawberry.
The straw man without a hit, but he has an RBI and a run scored today. He walked and scored in the 2nd and drove in a run in the 6th with a sacrifice line drive to Dawson and right. And now they're going to walk Darryl Strawberry as you look at the scoreboard out in center field. And that ball over the head of Berryhill, and Elster will go to 3rd. Now, you talk about why not give the automatic intentional walk. Well, there's why you don't do it. Now, I can see doing the automatic intentional walk with nobody on base, but you never know what's going to happen. Capel hadn't exactly shown good control.
Well, I've seen home runs hit off the intentional walk.
That's right, and guys get base hits, sure.
Certainly. I don't know why you'd walk anybody intentionally with no one on base. That would be a
Well, I've seen it happen.
It could happen. I've seen people walk with the bases loaded intentionally. When you've had a big lead, you don't want someone to hit a grand slam home run.
That's right. If there was ever a candidate, it would be somebody like you, Ralph, when you played. If you're in a tight ball game and you've got a home run hitter up and a guy who's not a very good hitter hitting behind him, you might think about walking a guy with nobody on.
Well, a lot was walk with the bases loaded. Got to have a big lead where you don't want that grand slammer to get the other ball club back in the game.
I'd rather have one scored against him than 4. Speaking of grand slams, Kevin McReynolds had one, and he's 2 for 3 today. Strike 1.
Well, they walked Strawberry with a runner at first and third to get to McReynolds when he hit that grand slam home run, his first as a Met and his second in his major league career.
One ball, one strike. Runners at first and third, 2 out in the 9th. Mets leading 8 to 2. 8 to 3. Thought I was right. McReynolds chases one, so now it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cubs picking up a run in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Chicago scored single runs in the 1st, 3rd, and 7th. New York with 1 in the 2nd, 3 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and 3 more here in the 9th. Oh, that hit McReynolds, and that'll load the bases. And McReynolds taking exception to it, and Berryhill is going to take issue with McReynolds, and now here come both benches. Dana DeMuth in the middle of it. We've seen some rare things today, displays of emotion. First of all, by McReynolds.
It is summertime, and they said he didn't have any reaction, but he's been hit twice in this game, and the second time, I guess, can raise your boiling point. He was hit back in the 5th inning by Schiraldi, and now after 2 base hits, he's hit by Capel.
Well, one thing about it, after intentionally walking Strawberry, you don't figure that Capel's trying to hit McReynolds. He is trying to pitch him inside.
Well, this is a fastball, and the pitch is inside. And it gets him. He's not happy, as you can see right there. Berryhill heads him off at the pass. And now Dana DeMuth gets involved.
Kevin Elster came over and got a little headlock on Mike Capel. So we had some referees jumping in there in a hurry on both sides. Well, here's Gary Carter, the 9th Met to bat here in the 9th inning. And Gary is 0 for 4. Fouls it back, strike 1. Bases loaded with 2 out in the 9th inning. Carter has struck out looking, grounded into 2 force plays, and was robbed of a base hit by Dave Martinez' diving catch that ended the 8th inning and saved at least 1 run. Pops it up. Grace coming in fair territory, and the inning is over. The Mets score 3, but they leave the bases loaded here in the 9th. And we go to the bottom of the 9th in Wrigley Field with the Mets up 8 to 3 after this for Dodge. The Metropolitan Life blimp with one more shot of beautiful Wrigley Field. I don't think the light standards detract from this ballpark at all.
Only brought up because you like that ball. And Kevin McGriddle didn't like what happened to him. Hit twice in this ball game by a pitch ball. This is the 2nd time. And a good fastball gets him. He's unhappy about it. Don't blame him. But nothing really took place.
Bottom of the 9th, and the first hitter of the inning Berryhill laces one into the gap, but it's run down by Len Dykstra. And Roger McDowell has not been fooling anybody since he entered the game with 2 out in the 7th inning. Dykstra had to make a diving stop of a liner that ended the 7th. Vance Law lined one into the left field corner that McReynolds tracked down. And now Berryhill gets his bid for an extra base hit corralled by Dykstra. So the top of the order, and Dave Martinez with 1 out here in the bottom of the 9th. Martinez 2 for 4 on the day. A double, a run scored, a stolen base. But the Cubs are trailing. It's 8-3 New York. Line to left field. McReynolds won't be able to get this one. Martinez with his good speed will be held on an excellent play by McReynolds. Kevin McReynolds getting to that ball down the line, and then a bullet of a throw to second forces Martinez right back to first base.
Well, this is the first hit off Roger, although he's been hit very hard. And a very good defensive play by Kevin McReynolds, who gets over there in foul territory and fires it in with a perfect throw. Perfect throw.
I'd say that Mr. Martinez made the proper decision.
No question about it.
Even though it's his 3rd base hit. Here's Rafael Palmeiro, who has yet to get a hit. He has walked, but he is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and he takes strike 1. I'd like to know how many times this year Palmeiro has struck out twice in a ball game.
I don't think he ever has.
He couldn't have. Foul outside of 3rd, 0-2.
Of course, David Cone can strike out anybody. He's got that kind of stuff.
He struck him out twice, and Cone, before leaving after 6 2/3, struck out 9. He walked only 2. One of those was intentional. He did give up the 3 runs on 8 hits, but is in a good position with a 5-run New York lead in the 9th to push his record to 9-1. In the dirt, stopped by Carter, so Martinez can't advance. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Davey Johnson and Mel Stottlemyre waiting for the end. Rather subdued New York bench. Base hit left field. Martinez will stop at second. And Roger McDowell, who's had a few shaky outings now lately, finds himself in trouble. Day before yesterday in New York. Roger got the first 2 outs in the 9th, but then found himself with the bases loaded, and Randy Myers had to come in to get the final out against Pittsburgh. And here is Andre Dawson, who's had a big day. 3 singles, an RBI, and a run scored.
And Randy now getting up to throw again.
1st and 2nd, 1 out. Strike 1 to Dawson. Strike 2. Roger had good movement on that sinker as it bit down and in, and Myers is getting ready just in case. Dawson with his 3 for 3, now back over 300. He started the day hitting .299. Ground ball. McDowell can't get it. Backman does, and they get the force play at second as he flips to Elster. Martinez goes to 3rd. Palmeiro is retired, and with 2 outs, 1st and 3rd for Chicago.
Well, this ball hit right back to the middle. Backman in good position to pick up the force play, and that is all. Dawson gets down that line. Elster not even thinking about throwing for the double play. Probably got a second here. I'd like to wish a bunch of good wishes to the O'Donnell family. Bill O'Donnell and his wife, Nikki, who's in the hospital in a battle to recover from a severe heart attack.
And we'll join you in that, Ralphie. Ryne Sandburg takes a strike on the inside corner. Ryne 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Strike 2. McDowell with a slider, and it's 0-2. So McDowell and the Mets 1 strike away from picking up the victory in the second of this 4-game series. Dawson running, and Sandburg fouls it off.
Well, the Mets not holding Dawson on. His run doesn't mean anything. And Magadan at first base playing at deep first base for defensive purposes.
So everybody's playing it proper all the way around. And Dawson will more than likely be off again. Grounded foul outside third. Still no balls, 2 strikes to Ryne Sandburg with 2 out and runners at first and third here in the 9th. Foul back. Still 0-2. That third one can be mighty elusive, whether you're talking about a strike or an out.
Sandburg, a very tough hitter.
Especially in clutch situations. There aren't too many guys that you'd rather have up when things were tight than Sandburg. Grounded to third. Johnson will go across the diamond to Magadan, who picks it out of the dirt, and the Mets win. It almost was prolonged by an errant throw, but Magadan corralled it. And the Mets, with 3 runs in both the 7th and 9th innings, or rather 6th and 9th innings, put the game away. After losing to Chicago yesterday, they win it 8-3. David Cone, the winner, is 9-1. And Roger McDowell pitches the final 2 2/3 for New York. The losing pitcher, Calvin Schiraldi of Chicago, now 4-5 on the year. Ralph and I'll be back to wrap it up from Wrigley, so stay with us. The Mets win at 8-3, and we're back to Chicago after this for Budweiser.
This is an update.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Roland Smith in the Channel 9 newsroom. Coming up tonight on the news at 10. A hotel guest dies when a ceiling collapses on him. Wild parties on campus will be tamed. Rutgers decides on rules for fraternities and sororities following the drinking death of a pledge last winter. A deadly landslide in Turkey is caught on videotape. You'll see it tonight. Plus, heartthrob Patrick Swayze says he's only got one more dance movie in him. Details tonight at 10.
Steve Zabriski and Ralph Kiner back with you in Chicago's Wrigley Field, where the Mets have won at 8-3. David Cone picking up his 9th victory as he continues to be a big story. And until the Mets blew it open with 3 in the 6th, Ralph, was a pretty good ball game that featured some superb defense by both teams.
No doubt about it. And the key play in the ball game was a play with Lenny Dykstra on third, a runner at first base, and Pat Perry pitching. The ball was hit back to him. He had a double play, would have gotten out of the inning. He elected to make a play on Dykstra. Dykstra getting in a rundown and hit by the throw by Vance Law. The Cubs said he did it on purpose and should have been out. The umpires said no, and 2 runs scored there, and that started the whole thing for the Mets.
Dykstra was involved in everything today, and that was a key play in the game. It did look like he did it on purpose. And in addition to that, Dykstra had 3 hits in the game today, so Lenny is the Budweiser star of the game. Dykstra, a 3-for-5 afternoon, and here's the catch. The diving stop that saved the run, and really a key play in the game, as you said, Ralph. Len Dykstra, a big fixture in the ball game today. This Bud's for you, as Dykstra is the Budweiser star of the game. So the final totals in the ball game this afternoon, as the Mets have 2 more left with Chicago this weekend. 8-13-0 for the Mets, 3-10-1 for the Cubs. David Cone goes 6 2/3 rather. He is now 9-1 on the year. Roger McDowell picks up his 7th save of the year, and Calvin Schiraldi, the loser for Chicago, is 4-5. And New York Mets baseball has been brought to you this afternoon by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan Cars and Trucks, built for the most important race of all, the human race. By Delta Airlines, we love to fly, and it shows to more than 150 cities worldwide. By AT&T International Fax Transmission. Is there really any other way to do business? AT&T, the right choice. And by the New York Daily News, New York's hometown paper. Guests on the program receive the Professional Home Protection Starter Kit by Black & Decker. Compliments of True Value Hardware Stores and Home Centers. This is Steve Zabriski for Ralph Kiner and Tim McCarver, inviting you to be with us again on Wednesday when the Mets take on the Pittsburgh Pirates from Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, beginning at 7:30 Eastern Time right here on WWOR-TV. The executive producer of Mets Baseball 88 is Rick Miner. Today's game produced and directed by Jeff Mitchell. Our associate producer, Steve Olbaum. The announcers on the preceding telecast were approved and contracted for by Sterling Doubleday Enterprises. And Mets Baseball is a production of Channel 9 Sports. From the Windy City on a beautiful day in Chicago, so long, everybody.